Dame Stadium, you'll be hearing that song again and again. We'll have the kickoff very soon. Right now, this break.
Notre Dame wearing the traditional green that they started against or revived against Southern California in a big win, an upset win a year ago. But Notre Dame, the number one team in the country in 1977. Facing Michigan, the number 8 team in the country and the only team that's finished in the top 10 in both the AP and UPI polls for 10 straight years in the final voting in January. Notre Dame's mail is ready to go, as 10 other green jerseys are all raring to go. Michigan's 11 white-shirted lads are all set. Needham, Lindsey, DeSantis, Kwiatkowski, and Arbesnik. Between the 50 and the 45, Johnson and Marsh, Larry Reed. And there it is, end over end, and it is going to be taken by Huckabee. Huckabee flips at the goal line to the 5, to the 10, to the 15. Hit at the 19 and brings it to the 18-yard line. Harlan Huckabee brings out that kickoff return for Michigan a year ago. He brought back 4, averaging 22 yards a return. Last week against Illinois, he brought 1 back for 25 yards. Check in Michigan's offense now. Huckabee, who just brought back the opening kickoff from the goal line out to the, call it the 18-yard line. 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. Johnson, Powers, Arbesnik, Nada, Bartley, Giesler, and Marsh. In the backfield with the bone is Huckabee and Clayton at the wingbacks. Russell Davis closed it full. There's Russell Davis. He's hit right there by the whole front 4. Calhoun bowling. And Michigan's Russell fumbles the ball, and Notre Dame recovers. The first big break of the ball game goes to the Fighting Irish as Notre Dame gets a break. Oh, is that a psychological big, as Michigan only had 1 turnover a week ago. It was a handoff from Leach to Davis, and there again, Leach to Davis, and he fumbles, and Notre Dame recovers on the 17. The man who recovered the fumble was Zedek, number 70, John Zedek. And so check in Notre Dame's offense. We have Bear, Foley, Huffman, 2 brothers at guard and center. Outman at left guard, Martinovich at tackle with Hayes at the split end. Montana under center. He hands off to Hemmons. Hemmons has hit the 15, the 10, and dropped at the 9.5-yard line. Raymond makes the tackle. He made 2 tackles a week ago against the Illini for Michigan, the white-shirted lad for Michigan. Not wearing the maize and blue, but wearing the white and blue right now. The dark blue numerals on the white jerseys, the maize and blue helmets in Michigan's must dig in with a front 5 of Sebron, Godfrey, Kites, Greer, and Meter. Now Notre Dame comes in with 2 setbacks. It's Evans and Ferguson. At quarterback is Montana. Joe Montana, the senior. He puts in motion number 2, Corney. There's the handoff this time to Evans. He's hit at the 6-yard line. They claim that Jerry Evans is the fastest fullback in the country for the first 7 yards. He carried the ball 14 times 2 weeks ago against Missouri for 47 yards, an average of 3.5 yards per carry, and he has just picked up the first down to the ball game. The first big break for those of you who may have just tuned in. Michigan on the first play fumbles. Notre Dame recovers on the Wolverine 17. The Irish have it at the Michigan 6.5-yard line, midway between the sideline stripes, going toward the northern goal. Michigan's front 5 digs in. Joe Montana checks it over. It's the I formation. Ferguson deep and Evans close. Joe Montana under center. 1st and 7 at the 7-yard line. Corney in motion. There's a pitch off the side to Ferguson. He's hit at the 6. He loses ground. He loses about a yard on the play. The line of scrimmage was a 6.5, and Ron Simpkins, the number 1 linebacker in the nation, if you ask any football man that's not only wearing maize and blue, but Simpkins last year had 174 tackles and 5 fumble recoveries. Last week alone, he had 13 solos and 4 assists for 17 tackles against Illinois. It brings up right now, 2nd down, and we have about 6.5 to go. Here comes Kearney in motion again. Across formation, it's Houlihan. There's Montana back for pass. He throws the pass, complete touchdown. Touchdown to Griner. Number 93 for Notre Dame. Number 93, it's Grindinger. Catches a pass right over the center. 17 yards after the Michigan fumble and 4 big plays, and the Irish fans go wild. It'll be Rustic. Rustic will hold, and kicking the extra point for Notre Dame will be Joe Enos. He made 3 out of 4 a year ago. He did not have a chance to kick one 2 weeks ago against Missouri because Notre Dame didn't score. The Irish have scored their first time in 1978. 17-yard drive in 4 plays, a pass play, Montana into the end zone. It's spotted by Rustic. It's end over end. It's kicked, and it is good. Notre Dame leads in this ball game 7-0 over this, the very maize and blue surprise football network. Just made the extra point. End over end the last time he kicked it to Huckabee. Huckabee is going to watch it go in the end zone. Automatic touchback. 1st and 10. Huckabee deciding valve. It's not going to be any good, Huck says to himself, to take that ball on the first bounce because those big green jerseys are moving down, and so Michigan takes over 1st and 10 on their own 20-yard line. Checking the Michigan offensive line for the second time in the contest. 2 minutes and 45 seconds having elapsed here, and Notre Dame leads in the ball game 7-0. Wait a minute, there seems to be confusion. There is. Gene Calhoun, the referee, indicated that Notre Dame, a dead ball foul after the ball had gone out of the end zone. Notre Dame was guilty of hitting a Michigan man some way that's against the rules, you know. The Fighting Irish are a little too festy here after they scored 7 points, so Michigan gets 15 yards the easy way. 1st and 10 on their own 35-yard line. Wide to the right is Feaster. It's a balanced line. It's the wishbone. Now they're shifting. Into the eye. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Clayton on the slot on the right side, and Ricky Leach looks over a 4-3. Ricky Leach goes out. Ricky Leach pitches off. Huckabee around the right side. He's up over the 39 and drops right there at the 39 or 40-yard line. Michigan's offense figured that they could run the flanks of Notre Dame because Notre Dame uses that close set, a front four with 3 linebackers shifted to the strength. And Michigan figuring running out of the bone, as they did a week ago against Illinois. They didn't show about 45% of the offense they have from that bone, and you just saw a play that featured part of that offense that you did not see against the Illini, where they go from the bone and then shift. Now wide to the right is Feaster. The rest of the team, the back of the bone. Now they're shifting from the bone into the eye. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Clayton at the slot on the right side. And there it is, Davis up the center, 41, 42, 43-yard line. On 2nd down and 6, Russell Davis picks up about 3.5 yards. Check, it was Huckabee taking the ball. Huckabee was in the tailback. And he followed Davis through in isolation, picking up a block from Davis, and it was Huck in there, number 25. Brought down on the, call it the 42-yard line. He was tackled in there by Bob Golick, the senior, who had 146 record tackles for Notre Dame in the 1977 season. 2 tight ends in the balanced line. It's 3rd down and about 3. And the 2 running backs are Huckabee and Davis. Huckabee, and Notre Dame jumps off sides. Ricky Leach, the experienced quarterback, changed the cadence at the line of scrimmage. Notre Dame made contact, and it'll be a question of whether Michigan center pulled Notre Dame, but it is not illegal procedure against Notre Dame. They jump and encroach the neutral zone before the ball is snapped. That's an automatic 5 yards, and that will give Michigan their first down of the ball game through the penalty route. So the Wolverines, after Notre Dame's 17-yard drive into the Wolverine end zone after recovering a Michigan fumble, have taken the kickoff. Rather, they didn't take the kickoff, but went out of the end zone for a touchback from the 20 to the 47-yard line, picking up 20 of those 27 yards via the penalty route. So it's 1st and 10 on their own 47-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close, fakes to Davis, gives the Huck. He's hit right there by a great big Notre Dame man in there in the person of, let's check it out in there. It looks like it was Mike Calhoun, who had 17 tackles 2 weeks ago against Missouri, and boy, was he in there big and strong and made the tackle for Notre Dame on, call it the 46-yard line. It brings up 2nd and 11. The ball resting 22 yards in from the eastern sideline. That's the Michigan side of the field. Take Marsh out. Coming into the ball game is Smirgy. Wide to the right is Feaster. Smirgy tight on the left side. It's the bone with Huckabee deep and Clayton deep. Now Clayton goes across formation, setting up the pro set with 1 man back, a passing offensive formation. There's Ricky Leach back. Cocks his arm for the first pass. He throws downfield, and it's caught down there at the midfield stripe. He gets away, and he falls over into Notre Dame territory. He being Russell Davis, who a week ago caught 1 pass against Illinois for 14 yards. And it looks as though there is a flag on the play. The ball caught by Russell at the midfield stripe, falling over to the 49. But evidently it was a late hit, and it'll cost Notre Dame another 15 yards. Boy, Michigan has picked up 35 yards on this drive, 2 15-yard penalties, a 5-yard penalty, and Notre Dame leads 7-0. But the Wolverines, via the penalty route, have moved all the way down to the Notre Dame 34-yard line. So check in Michigan's offense right now. We see that it's Huckabee and Clayton at the back of the bone with Russell Davis at the fullback spot. There they are, the bone, and it'll be 1 tight end. That's Marsh. There goes Clayton in motion out to a slot on the left side. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center at the 34-yard line. He's going to throw the long bomb downfield to Feaster, and it's way over his head, incomplete at the southeast corner. It was thrown about 2 yards too far, wouldn't you say, Donald?
I would think so, Bob. It looked like he had the man licked, but it had to be just a perfect pass. The defensive man had him covered pretty well, but he just had to be a perfect pass, and like you said, it was thrown just a little too far.
A week ago, Ricky Leach connected on 6 out of 13, good for 75 yards. The longest was good for 18 yards. A week ago, Leach ran 15 times for 96 yards. Actually, he picked up 117 yards, but was thrown for losses of 22. Wide to the left this time is Feaster. There is Leach back again for a pass. He looks for a receiver. He throws it there to Huckabee. It's caught at the 23. First down, Michigan at the Fighting Irish 23-yard line. The same pass that set up the first score of the ball game for Michigan against Illinois a week ago. But wait a minute, there's a flag on the play, and it all goes for naught. Remember that pass a week ago if you were in the stadium? You could picture Leach spotting Huckabee deep, only instead of over the center, he was out in the left deep. And Huckabee got behind the halfback, but wait a minute, they're bringing it back, and they're spotting the ball. Third down. Don, do you want to pick that up for him?
I think he just looked like he might have caught the ball out of bounds, and just too late, and they called it an incomplete pass.
That's over away from us. We're high on the western side, and we couldn't see that. It looked as though he caught it, and the officials were there. So one man back now, Davis back of Leach, two wing backs, Clayton and Huckabee. There's Ricky Leach. He throws downfield, and it is almost intercepted in the end zone. So it'll bring up 4th down and 10. And will Greg Wilner try now from the 40-yard line, a 50-yard field goal? He kicked one against Notre Dame a year ago, and he is going to try it. He kicked one 46 yards, he being Greg Wilner. The Miami Beach walk-on, the senior, 5'10", 156 pounds. He only made 3 out of 12 field goals a year ago. But wait a minute. No, he's in the punt. Check. It's not a field goal. So the line of scrimmage is a 34. Greg Wilner is standing on his own 48. He punted last week 6 times, averaging 40 and a half yards a punt. There's a high, lazy punt that'll go into the Notre Dame end zone, automatic touchback. It hit on the one, and the Michigan men could not down it there as it went right into the end zone. So for those of you who may have just tuned in, following that 34-yard punt by Greg Wilner, Michigan won the toss, elected to receive. On the first play from scrimmage, Ricky Leach handed off to Russell Davis. There was a fumble on the handoff. Notre Dame recovered on the Michigan 17. In 4 plays, they had a touchdown on a beautiful pass, Montana, to his big tight end, Grindinger. And then the extra point was good. Notre Dame kicked off, and Michigan moved all the way down to the Irish 34-yard line, where on 4th down, they had to punt into the Notre Dame end zone. And that's been the picture so far statistically in this ball game that has captured the imagination of the entire football world. Notre Dame, the defending national champs, not meeting Michigan for 35 years, and these two great football schools steeped in football tradition and heritage. Now Michigan has a front 5 composed of Seaborn, Godfrey, Kitescrew, and Meter. There is Montana, and he gets away. He's up over the 30, the 35, the 40, the 43-yard line. It was Jerry Evans taking a delayed handoff from Montana, picking up a key block from Tim Huffman, the guard on that play, enabling him to move around the right side, took around Michigan's flanker over there, and moved that big green jersey of his all the way down to the Notre Dame 42-yard line. He was tackled down there by Bell, all by himself, helped by Simpkins. Bell, who a week ago had 6 tackles against Illinois, helped by Big Ron Simpkins, who had 17 tackles against the Illini. 1st and 10 for the Fighting Irish. High formation, Ferguson deep in Heavens close. Joe Montana under center with 2 tight ends and a balanced line. There's a handoff this time to Fergie. He's over the 45 and is hit at the 47-yard line. Vegas Ferguson from Richmond, Indiana, carried the ball 19 times against Missouri, good for 84 yards. That's 4.5 yards per carry. That is one of the finest tandems of the eye in the country. Ferguson deep and Evans close. Restic, the safety man, or free safety for Notre Dame, seems to be limping up and down the sidelines below us here, and it looks like Mayo is taking snaps. Remember, Restic is their punter. So Notre Dame, the way they've been moving, though, the first time they had the ball, they moved 17 yards and scored. 2nd and 5. Now there's a handoff this time to Fergie again. He needs 5. He gets 3 to the 50-yard line. The line of scrimmage was a 47-yard line to the Fighting Irish, and they moved to the midfield stripe, where Notre Dame has a 3rd down situation coming up now. 3rd and 2. In 3rd down situations, we see Notre Dame. This is their first one. Michigan's Ricky Leach converted 1 out of 2. The Wolverines moved well from the 20-yard line to the Notre Dame 34-yard line, but 35 yards of that was via the penalty route. Up over the ball comes Huffman. The line follows 2 tight ends and a balanced line. There's a wing back out on the left side. That's Holohan. Holohan, number 31. There is the fake handoff. There's Joe Montana. It's a completed pass at the 40, the 35, and knocked out of bounds at the 32-yard line. Grindinger Dennis Grindinger, number 93, the lad who caught the touchdown pass for 6.5 yards on a touchdown earlier in this first period, has just given Notre Dame some real life once again as the Irish have now moved from their own 20-yard line all the way down to the Wolverine 34-yard line with Joe Montana directing this team majestically. Montana coming into the ball game in his career at Notre Dame had thrown the ball 283 times, completed 140 for 2,262 yards and 15 touchdowns. We'll give you Ricky Leach's comparative marks in a minute. There is motion across formation. Holohan. The two running backs. Evans has it. He's hit at the 30-yard line. Jerry Evans upended in there by Kites, Greer, DeSantis, and Godfrey. Checking Michigan's front five right now. From left to right, it's Sebron, Godfrey, Kites, Greer, and DeSantis. And Michigan's defensive line averages 242 pounds, while the Notre Dame offensive line goes to 238. So Michigan has a slight advantage defensively right now in the forward wall. But it's hard to judge because Michigan only has 5 men up front. Looking that over is Joe Montana. Corey in motion across formation. The running backs are Evans and Ferguson. But Notre Dame takes too much time, and I believe that will cost the Irish 5 yards. So Notre Dame has been penalized 4 times for 40 yards so far, and yet they completely dominate the first 7 minutes of this ball game as they recovered a Michigan fumble on the Wolverine 17, moved 4 plays into the Michigan end zone on a fine pass, Joe Montana, connecting to the Notre Dame end, Dennis Grindinger. And the extra point was good, and that's been the scoring picture. Pro set, I formation. Ferguson deep and Evans close. Joe Montana under center. Grindinger wide to the right. There's Montana rolling out to the right. He's going to run. He doesn't like to, and he's hit just over the line of scrimmage at the 32-yard line. Remember, the series started at around the 33-yard line, and they're putting the ball down at the 32-yard line. So it will be now 3rd down, I believe, coming up. The yard marker across the way. There it is. 3rd down and about 7. A 3rd down situation. Notre Dame has converted 1 out of 1 so far. So Joe Montana setting his team. Jimmy Stone is into the ball game for Ferguson. Wide to the left right now is Curry. Wide to the right is Condini. The 2 running backs are Evans and Stone. A drop back pass by Montana. He's being rushed. He's evading the man now, and now he's being chased over there by Kites. He throws the ball incomplete. And if it hadn't been for Dale Kites, that Columbus, Ohio lad, if he'd have given Montana any more time, Montana can pick a receiver, let me tell you. That lad Montana, as we said, has passed for 2,362 yards and 15 touchdowns. He's the type of quarterback that doesn't like to pass or run unless he has to. In fact, in his entire career, Montana's only carried the ball 63 times, and his net yardage is 13 yards. Standing back is Restig. He was limping, but he is in to punt. He's averaged 42 yards a kick throughout his career for 3 years. He's standing on the Michigan 46. He's angling for the corner, but I don't believe he got it. Wait a minute. Did he get it at the goal line? No, it's an automatic touchback. Wait a minute. They're claiming that it did. It did get the Coffin corner. Well, if it weren't for tough luck, Michigan wouldn't be having any luck at all, and all the good luck is with the Irish so far in this ball game. Restig, the very fine punter, just kicked 29 yards. There's a freshman bring the team with the 3 backs, the 2 tailbacks, Huckabee and Clayton in the end zone. Huckabee takes over the 5, 6, 7, 8. Flags on the play. Somebody was offsides on that forward wall, and I believe it was Notre Dame. So Michigan's captain on offense, Russell Davis, will have the choice of 1st and 5 or 2nd and 5, because on the play it looks as though Huckabee picked up 5, and that's not much of a choice since he picks up a down if he takes a penalty. So it'll be 1st down and 5. They'll move it out from the 3 to the 8-yard line. Illegal procedure against Notre Dame, as Notre Dame is very aggressive, but they're leading in the ball game 7-0. They have certainly dominated the first 8 minutes of this ball game, going 17 yards on a big break after a Michigan fumble to score the only score so far, and their only score of the 78 season, having lost the opener 3-0. It'll be Huckabee and Mitchell at the tailback. There's Ricky Leach going out, and he's going to pitch. He's going to keep, and he's piggyback ridden into the ground at the 9-yard line. Ricky Leach, who in his career has carried the ball 357 times for 1,661 net yards, compared to a career running net for his counterpart, Joe Montana, of 13 yards. So it's not hard to figure out that Montana is definitely a passing quarterback. Leach is about 70 to 80% running and 20 to 30% passing, and statistics certainly bear that out. So the ball now rests 18 yards in from the western sideline. Michigan in possession. They have it 2nd down and 4 at their own 9-yard line. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center. Feaster wide to the right. Clayton wide to the left. There is Ricky Leach. He's over the 10, the 11. He needed to get to about the 13.5-yard line, and he stopped shy of that It was 2nd and 4. It'll be 3rd and inches, and they may call for a measurement here. And I believe the officials, Gene Calhoun, the referee, along with the umpire, Leslie Rulin, are claiming that Ricky Leach did pick up Michigan's third first down of the ball game. So in first downs, Notre Dame has 2 in the ground and 1 in the air. The passing arm of Montana on a well-thrown pass to Grindinger for their 1 first down and 2 running first downs. Michigan in first downs has 2 via the penalty route and 1 on the ground. Just picked up by Ricky Leach. There's Leach. Fakes to Davis. Hits to Huckabee, and Leach picks up Huckabee's fumble. Leach scrambles back to the 5-yard line. Huckabee was hit so hard. That's what happens when a banana leaves the packet, gets skinned, and boy, Ricky Leach was really hit on a tremendous tackle in there by Jeff Weston, number 74, and he just jarred the ball loose. Notre Dame, Donald, has come to play football.
Certainly they are, Bob. They're sky high, and you can see it, and they got a break right off the bat where we had the fumble, and they recovered, and that way, that guy really popped Huckabee that time, and Leach was able to pick the ball up and recover. It's been another tough break for him.
So it brings up 2nd down and just about 19 yards to go. 2nd and 19, the ball resting. 21 yards in from this to western sideline. From the bone, Michigan has 2 wingbacks. Mitchell on the right, Huckabee on the left. There's Davis over the center to the 5, to the 7. And it's dropped right there at the 8-yard line, trying to pick up cross spots in there from Nada and Bartnick. And coming in on the defense is Bob Golick, the linebacker. Notre Dame on defense is utilizing, as we said before, that basic 4-man front, the 3 linebackers, and then they have the 4-man D for the umbrella. They overshift towards Michigan's strength. And Michigan is trying this afternoon to run toward their slot or to their wide receiver, because last week they centered their entire attack against the Illini, against the tight end, figuring Notre Dame would pick that up and they would run, they being Michigan, toward the flanker or towards the split receiver, who right now happens to be Clayton. Wide on the left is Feaster. At the slot on the right side is Huckabee, and there's a delayed handoff to Davis. He's up to the 10 to the 12 and slips at the 13-yard line. And these Michigan men, you know, they've been playing 99% of their careers on tartan surface, and that time Davis tried to cut back in and slipped, and there's been no rain here at Notre Dame, but playing on the turf may take a quarter or a half to get used to it. Michigan's Greg Wilner now, who has punted once, and it was a 34-yard kick, 5 yards below his average, and Notre Dame will rush 7 men. No, they're going to rush 9 men. Wilner, 2 yards in the end zone, standing back there. He gets a nice snap from Lilja, and there it is, a nice, hard, lazy kick taken by Waymer at the 45 to the midfield stripe, piggyback ridden into the ground at the Michigan 46-yard line. So Notre Dame has excellent field position as the Fighting Irish take over for the 3rd time in the ball game with 4 minutes and 7 seconds remaining. Notre Dame leads in the contest 7-0. A 42-yard kick with a 9-yard return. Defensive line averaging right now about 226, so Notre Dame has a 12-pound per man advantage. As they break out of the huddle, up over the ball comes Dave Huffman. The line follows its balance. The wingback on the right side is Corey. The wingback on the left side, Condini. There is the end around to Corney, and he's hit right there at the 47, but he breaks the tackle of Simpkins, and he goes over the 40-yard line to the 38, and you don't see that very often. Ron Simpkins, the AP player of the week last week for his tackles against Illinois, 17 tackles. He had 174 record tackles a year ago as a great, great player for Michigan as a sophomore, and that time he had the man dropped for a loss. The ball carrier that time was Corey on the end around or the halfback around. He was lined up on the right at the halfback, came back around, took the handoff and was hit immediately, but he broke the tackle and went 7 more yards. It brings up 2nd down and 3. The I formation, Ferguson deep, and Evans close with Corey in motion across formation. 2 tight ends. There's a handoff this time to Fergie. He's hit right there at the 35-yard line, picking up enough yardage for another first down, so Notre Dame will now have 4 first downs. They're unpiling. Remember, the series started at the Michigan 46. They're unpiling at the 36, and we may have a measurement here, and we're right at the 36-yard line. It's right down from our vantage point here, high on the western sideline. A packed house, 59,075 fans enjoying this ball game along with you and me. And Notre Dame leading in the contest now in the closing 3 minutes of the first period. Wide to the right over there goes Haynes. He had a hamstring pull yesterday in practice. This is his first appearance. 2 running backs are Evans and Ferguson. There is the handoff to the halfback, Evans. He's over the 35 and dropped at the 33-yard line. Trying to pick up blocks in there from Hauptman and Martinovich. Notre Dame's offensive line right now has a 15-pound advantage on Michigan's defensive front 5. Charlie Godfrey with 3 tackles against the Illini and 29 tackles and 77. made the tackle that time for the Maize and Blue wearing white jerseys. It just doesn't seem like Michigan. You know what, Donald, with those white jerseys on?
Well, it's a little different, Bob, but we have to get used to it. When you're on the road, you have to wear white.
Wide to the right is Holohan. Wide to the left this time is Haynes. Two running backs are Evans and Ferguson. There is a fake. Montana's back. Plenty of time. A reverse pass is good in there to Mastic. And he's down to the 19-yard line. And Mastic is in the ball game for the first time. And McCartney told his defense when Mastic comes in, he only came in once against Missouri. They passed to him over the center, on the back. The kids were told that, and the Mastic came into the ball game. They looked at him, and they let him get free, and he caught the pass down to the 18-yard line. Michigan is not alert right now. The ball is resting 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. Up over the ball comes Dave Huffman. I know that because one of the defensive men told me that. A defensive player said when Mastic comes in, we know it's going to be a pass. Two tight ends. And a balanced line. The I formation, Fergie deep, and Evans close. There it is to Fergie. He's hit at the 16-yard line. And Notre Dame is just where they were in the opening series that Notre Dame had it here this afternoon after Michigan took the opening kickoff, brought it back to the 17 on the first play. Leach handing off to Davis. There was a fumble. Notre Dame recovered on the Michigan 17. They have it right now on the 16-yard line. Earlier in this quarter, they moved that 17 yards in 4 big plays, with Grindinger taking a 6.5-yard touchdown pass from Joe Montana. Now Notre Dame sets themselves. 2nd and 7. The ball resting on the Michigan 16-yard line. The running backs are Evans and Ferguson. Mastic is in again. There's the handoff this time to Evans. He is hit abruptly right there at the 16-yard line. Maybe Michigan lineman heard me on that. Last time DeSantis was in there, he was alert. He made 3 tackles. It's snapped right now. It's spotted by Restig. It's kicked by Innes. It's blocked. And it's going down into the end zone. Automatic blocked in there. Automatic touchback. And so Michigan's Mike Jolly, the lad who intercepted and went 50 yards against Texas A&M in a big intersectional game a year ago, came in and blocked out a field goal attempt, and Michigan's defense rose to the occasion. Football's a game of emotions, and Michigan emotionally had their daubers down because Notre Dame took the opening, or took the fumble and moved 17 yards and scored. And Michigan had a real break with 35 yards in penalties, but fizzled out on the Irish 34. And then Notre Dame has come back in, and they tried that field goal, and had they made it, that would have given them a big lift. Instead, it gave Michigan a big lift. Now the Wolverines offensively, Ricky Leach is under center. He is Huckabee deep and Davis close, and there goes Clayton in motion, the cross formation. Feaster's wide to the right out here. There's a fake handoff. Ricky Leach goes down the line, pitches off to Huckies over the 20, hits at the 24, and dropped for a 5-yard gain at the 25-yard line. Now Michigan, with 51 seconds remaining in the first quarter, have moved the ball 5 yards on this series of downs, and Michigan's front 7 are Smurgy at one end, Powers at the quick tackle, Arbesnik, the flame from Cleveland at left guard, Steve Knott of the Norristown, Pennsylvania lad at center, Greg Bartnick from Detroit Cody High School playing at right guard, John Giesler from Woodville, Ohio at right tackle, and Ron Feaster, one of those Flint Phantoms, is in there right now, flanked out to the left. And here comes in motion Clayton from the bone, and there goes Huckabee setting up the eye with Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach faking to Huckabee back for a pass. Ricky Leach is throwing way over the head of everyone because it was a missed assignment, because Feaster cut in and button hooked at the 42-yard line, and Ricky Leach hurled the ball down to the Notre Dame 47-yard line. The Wolverines have got to put it together here offensively, as Bo Schembechler told you and I, that if Michigan makes as many mistakes today against Gan Devine as his team did against Missouri in 1969, that Notre Dame would make 40 or more points. Missouri capitalizing on 7 turnovers in that 69 game, beat Michigan and Bo Schembechler 40-17. Now Michigan trails 7-0. Michigan has the I formation. It's 3rd down and 5, and Leach is back for another pass. And he's looking. He's going to scramble. And now he finds a man who's going to eat the ball back there at the 15-yard line. Ricky Leach is scrambling, but he can't find anybody open. Notre Dame's defense is doing a tremendous job back there. Harrison, Waymer, and Restig are really back there covering all the would-be receivers, and Michigan's in the hole again. And there it is, the end of the first quarter, dominated by Notre Dame, but never say die. Michigan is coming back upfield. They're going to change ends of the field. We're going to change microphones for a word over this, the very Maize and Blue and Gold Football Network. 63 rushing, 38 passing. Michigan had 6 on the ground and 5 in the air. 101-11. Greg Wilner is back for a punt. His 3rd punt of the afternoon. He's standing on the hash line at the Michigan 3-yard line. He has plenty of time, and he gets a nice long spiral. Beautifully kicked to the 33-yard line by Waymer. He's hit at the 35, and he dropped right there at the 33-yard line. A beautiful punt with no return, and that's Greg Wilner, who kicked a 46-yard field goal a week ago to put Michigan on the scoreboard after Michigan was frustrated offensively in the first quarter. And then the Wolverines went off leading 10-0 at the half. So here we have Michigan now after that 50-yard kick with a -2-yard return. Beautiful punt by Greg Wilner. Notre Dame's Joe Montana sets the team. Ferguson and Evans at the running back. There it is. Ferguson following Evans. He gets no blocking. Now he gets a block. He's over the 35 and hit at the 35-yard line. 3 men in there. Jerry Meter in there beautifully for Michigan. Meter at that linebacking spot, who a week ago made 10 tackles against the Illini. Now, a year ago, he was the number 2 tackler behind Simpkins with 104. He made the tackle right that time on the 35-yard line. It brings up second down and about 8. Wide to the left this time goes Condini. At the tight slot on the right is Holohan. There's a handoff this time to the halfback. He's hit right there at the 37-yard line. And you know, Lundo, with the complexion of the game, we talk about emotions. Notre Dame had a big lift. They went in, recovered Michigan's fumble after the opening kickoff, scored, came right back. And after that field goal, they just haven't seemed to have the life, and Michigan now is slowly picking it up. Defensively, the Wolverines are great. It's offense. They got to get going.
That's right, Bob. That was a great kick by Wilmer to get us a pretty good field position because we haven't had very good field position all day. Here we go, Bob.
All right, third down. They have 2 out of 4 right now, conversions on third down situations. There's Montana, and the Courtney, he pitches off at the fumble ball back at the 23-yard line, recovered by Notre Dame at the 21. Well, Notre Dame is having their share of miscues right now. Jimmy Stone taking the pitch back from Corey, who had taken the handoff from Montana. Remember, that was a play that he broke earlier in the game and went down for about 7 yards. But this time, it was well conceived but poorly executed, and it was Chris Godfrey, the Florida lad, who lived as a child in Detroit, who was in there to make the tackle after the recovery of that fumble by Stone at the 21-yard line. There is the punt this time by Rusty. He gets a beautiful high, lazy kick just over the midfield stripe. A Michigan bounce back out of bounds right in Bo Schembechler's lap. Michigan is on the eastern sideline, the visitor's side. Notre Dame on the home side, down below is here. This real... as we said it before, but it bears repeating, the exact replica of the Michigan Stadium, only in a miniature style. 59,000 in his 4th year at Notre Dame. 28 wins and 8 losses. That's winning at 79%. Overall, Bo Schembechler is 81%, and Dan Devine is 75% in coaching at Arizona State, Missouri, and here at Notre Dame. The I formation, there's a head up to Davis. He's over the 45, the 42, the 41-yard line. Russell Steelhorse Davis picking them up and laying it down, and Bartnick and Nada making the blocks up front. It was Bartnick and Nada making the blocks up front, opening up a hole for Russell Davis and that big lad from Virginia, giving Michigan an offensive thrust right now as they trail in the ball game 7-0. But the Wolverine Daubers are coming back up to the 4. The ball rests 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Up over the ball comes Steve Nada. The line follows wide to the left is Feaster. In the back of the bone is Clayton and Huckabee. Here comes Clayton in motion across formation, setting up a medium slot on the left side. Ricky Leach is rolling out to the right, and he's going to throw it down here, and it is too short of the target. Feaster's open at the 27-yard line, and Ricky Leach underthrows his target. Ricky Leach, who a week ago connected on 6 out of 13 for 75 yards, is just where he was a week ago, throwing short of the target in the first half, and then he came into his own in the second half. Ricky Leach, who engineered that Michigan team last week in beautiful style, running the option, and we have a hunch that Michigan's offense now will get out of that sort of rut they've been in the first so-called 22 minutes of this half. Actually, first 18 minutes. We got 12 minutes left in the first half. There's the bone. Clayton and Huckabee at the running spots with Davis up close. There's Ricky Leach with the ball, and he's going to keep. He's over the 40. Cuts back into the 36. That's what Leach does best, and he picks up Michigan's 4th first down of the ball game. Michigan had 11 yards in the first quarter and 3 first downs. Notre Dame had 101 yards in the first quarter and 5 first downs. Michigan picks up the first down of the second period by either team, and the Wolverines have it now at the Notre Dame 36-yard line. Remember, the furthest penetration by Michigan was their first time with the ball, the second time. The first time they fumbled. The second time they moved to the Notre Dame 34-yard line where they had to punt. And now Michigan has Steve Nada up over the ball. The line follows. The Wolverines have Feaster wide to the right. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. The running back, Mitchell, goes to the left side of the wingback. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach rolls on. Pitches off to Huckabee. He's got a block, but he's hit at the 40. Down over the 30, the 26, and hit at the 25-yard line. Ricky Leach was hit on the play as he let go of the ball. Ricky Leach is down. It's a first down as Ricky Leach slowly gets up. Remember, Bo told us he was hit in practice on Tuesday. And he gets up slowly and walks back to the Wolverine huddle. The ball rests 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. B.J. Dickey is warming up on the sidelines. Feaster goes out. Coming into the ball game for Feaster is Clayton. Going to be 2 tight ends in a balanced line with Clayton wide to the left. A And there's a draw play to Huckabee. He's hit at the 23-yard line. Going up the center, picking up blocks from our Besnick, Nada, and Powers. Harlan Huckabee coming into the ball game with a 4.7 per carry average against the Illini. In 11 carries, he went 52 yards, but sat out most of the second half with a pinched nerve. He caught 2 passes a week ago, good for 20 yards. Right now, it's Notre Dame's front 5 digging in with Case, Weston, Golly, Calhoun, and Zedek. Notre Dame looks that over. Ricky Leach looks over that 5-4-2 defense. And Michigan goes into a 2nd and 8 situation with Huckabee deep and Davis close. Davis has the ball. He's over the 20. He can't break it, though, and he's right there at the 20-yard line, brought down by Golick, who coming into the game had 12 tackles against Missouri 2 weeks ago and 146 record tackles in their national championship season of 1977. And Golick that time shot 2 would-be blockers and made the tackle on Russell Davis. Golick, a tri-co-captain of the Notre Dame team, while Michigan's Russell Davis, the co-captain on offense, carried the ball. So it is a 3rd down situation. Michigan's Ricky Leach has 1 out of 5. So Ricky Leach sets his team 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Now they go into power I with Huckabee deep and Davis close and 3rd down and 4. And listen to the voice of Notre Dame football. I think Notre Dame jumped offside. There's a pitch to Clayton. Clayton's down to 15, down to 10. That's back into the 5. And Notre Dame, I believe, was offside. But Michigan will decline the penalty. But maybe we're thinking ahead too much. Hold it, you. Hold it. Let's see who it was against. It'll be the Notre Dame captain, Golick, going in there with Michigan's captain, Russell Davis. And it is against Notre Dame, and Michigan will refuse the penalty and have the ball down there on the 6-yard line. So the ball rests now 18 yards in with Notre Dame on top of Michigan, 7-zip, but the Wolverine Stoppers are up, and they're coming back from down and under with that emotional drive as Clayton goes out of the Michigan huddle and the Wolverines break out. Not as over the ball, and we have 2 tight ends in a balanced line. And Michigan there shifts with Mitchell going wide to the left, Huckabee deep, and Davis close to the 6-yard line. There's a hand up to Davis. He gets to the 4-yard line, to the 3-yard line. The Notre Dame crowd is subdued. Remember the new rule in intercollegiate football is the home crowd boos while the offensive team or the visitors move toward the goal line. They will be automatically assessed a timeout. They'll be penalized. The clock will stop. And Notre Dame evidently well-disciplined. The fans here, because 36 years ago they would be yelling their heads off right now as Michigan trails 7-0. They have the ball 2nd and 4. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Here comes Huckabee making the tandem of the eye with Clayton wide to the left. Huckabee deep, and Ricky Leach is going out, and Ricky Leach scores, and it's 7-6. And Ricky Leach just scored his 3rd touchdown of 1978. Ricky Leach, who had 2 running touchdowns against Illinois, has just moved 6 yards for a touchdown here against Notre Dame. And Greg Wilner, who had 4 for 4 on extra points, will attempt to tie it up. And holding for Michigan will be B.J. Dickey. And Ricky Leach, who as a freshman ran for 5 touchdowns, who as a sophomore in 76 ran for 10 touchdowns, who as a junior in 77 ran for 7 touchdowns. He has now run for his 3rd touchdown of 78 from 6 yards out. B.J. Dickey spots it. It's spotted. It's kicked. It's end over end. And it is good. Greg Wilner gives us a brand new ball game. Michigan zip. Notre Dame. Michigan 7. Ufer, you're getting carried away, baby. We've got 40 minutes left of this contest. Everyone knows it's Michigan 7. Notre Dame 7 over this. The very maize and blue coming from behind. Football Network. 50 yards and 9 big plays with Ricky Leach, the guts and glue of the maize and blue, moving in from the 6.5-yard line. Greg Wilner has had a tremendous career so far in 78, kicking, putting, field goals, extra points. He's 5 for 5 and 1 out of 1. And as Brian Virgil, the Buchanan Michigan lad, kicking off, he kicked him out of the end zone a week ago. This time it's taken by Stone at the goal line. Stone at Notre Dame at the 10, the 15. He has daylight at the 24 and dropped right there. He saw for a moment a bit of daylight at 21. He tried to duck towards the sideline, but coming up beautifully was Brian Virgil, number 2, the lad who kicked the ball for Michigan, made the tackle. That's what you call extra effort on the specialty team. Boy, when you kick off and then you go down and know you're not going to be in again until they kick off, he gave that extra effort, that Buchanan Michigan lad, and Notre Dame has the ball. Up over the ball comes Huffman. The line follows. Montana sets his team. Ferguson deep and Evans close. At the slot is Colohan. He goes in motion across formation. And Montana goes back, gives off to Heaven. He's hit by the stubborn Wolverines at the 26-yard line. And Michigan's defense in there, headed by Chris Godfrey, who had 3 against Illinois. He's had 3 so far in this first half against Notre Dame. He had 29 against 11 opponents last year, he being Chris Godfrey, number 90. Made the tackle that time. The ball rests 21 yards in from this to western sideline. For those of you who may have just tuned in, we got a barn burner, cliffhanger, call it what you will. Notre Dame 7, Michigan 7. Pro set, the 2 running backs. Fake. There's Joe Montana back. He's rushed. He throws downfield. Caught beautifully at the 45-yard line by Bear. Nick Bear, number 95, caught it in stride. Boy, this Montana is beautiful the way he throws those soft passes. He dropped back Joe Montana. He was 13 out of 28 against Missouri. And in his career, he's completed 49%, 140 out of 283. The receiver was Nick Bear, one of the finest all-around athletes on the Notre Dame team. To give you an idea of how agile this end is, he was the high jump champion in Ohio, jumped his senior year, 6'7". Russell Davis jumped 6'9" in high school in Virginia. So what, Ufer, back at Notre Dame's gridiron. Notre Dame has the ball first and 10. There's the draw play to the fullback. He's up over the midfield stripe. And he slips right there, Ferguson, at the 41-yard line. Beautifully conceived and beautifully executed. Montana calling these plays real well. From the bench they're called, but he's executing them as well as they're being called, believe me. He went back that time. Michigan expecting a pass, dropped back. The old display in football, the draw play. He handed off to the man who looked like he was blocking, Vegas Ferguson, and he moved the ball all the way down to the Michigan 41-yard line. The ball rests 21 yards in from the far eastern sideline. And over the ball for Notre Dame comes Huffman. Wide to the left is Condini. And there is the handoff to Evans. He breaks to the 34-yard line. Notre Dame's offensive line is starting to kick out. The Notre Dame offensive line that averages 241 pounds a man to Michigan's 5-man front that goes 226. So Notre Dame right now has a 15-pound per man advantage on that forward wall. The ball rests 23 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Simpkins made his 3rd tackle of the afternoon. Up over the ball for Notre Dame with 2nd down and 3 on the Michigan 34-yard line. It's the I formation. Ferguson deep and Evans close. Joe Montana under center. Puts the halfback Holohan in motion. Gives it off to Evans. There's a flag on the play. And somebody, I believe, exchanging pleasantries down there. And it looks like Michigan's co-captain, Ron Simpkins, talking things over a little heatedly with Gene Calhoun, the referee, along with Dave Huffman, the center. And it looks like it will be illegal procedure against Notre Dame. So on 2nd and 3, it'll now, the down box remains the same. The yardage will move up to 7. 2nd and 7. Notre Dame has been penalized so far 6 times for 50 yards. Michigan has yet to pick up a penalty, but the only turnover of the ball game was Michigan on the fumble that led to Notre Dame's first score after the opening kickoff. 17 yards in 4 plays, Notre Dame's touchdown. Michigan went 50 yards in 9 plays. Huckabee carried 4 times for 31 yards, Davis 3 times for 14 yards, and Ricky Leach twice for 7.5 yards. Joe Montana sets his team. I formation is 2nd and 8. Across formation comes Holohan. Number 31 is Fergie deep. Fergie takes, follows Evans over the 35, the 34, the 32, and drops at the 31-yard line. Remember, the series started at the Michigan 41, so Ferguson may have picked up another first down for Notre Dame. Notre Dame has 7, Michigan has 6. It's a 7-7 ball game. 36 years ago here, it was 14-13 at the half with Notre Dame on top by 1 point. History has a way of repeating itself, especially in football. 3rd down and inches to go. On a 3rd down situation, Notre Dame has connected on 2 out of 5. This will be the 6th attempt for Notre Dame's Joe Montana. He has formation, 2 tight ends in the balance line. Evans deep, Evans is hit, and I don't know whether he made it or not. He's hit right there, and the Notre Dame men naturally are signaling, and the official signals he did pick up the 6 inches he needed. So Notre Dame has just converted on their third down situation out of 6 into a first down. They have the ball 19 yards in from the far eastern sideline. 6 minutes remaining in the ball game from South Bend, Indiana, with the score tied 7-7. Up over the ball comes Dave Huffman. The line follows balance. Wide out is Corey. And there is the fake handoff, and Montana's down. He connects on the 21-yard line, and it's cut down there by Evans, and he rolls out of bounds at the 19. Another first down for Notre Dame. They pick up 2 of them here in a hurry. They have 9 first downs in the ball game. Michigan has 6. Notre Dame's Joe Montana has connected on 5 out of 7. That's well above his career average of 49%. The ball is brought in 18 yards from the far eastern sideline. Notre Dame comes out of the huddle with 2 tight ends in the balance line. Ferguson deep, And heavens close. Joe Montana looks over a 5-2-4 defense. Then he puts the halfback in motion. That's Holohan across formation. Pitches off to Fergie. Follows Heavens. Fergie's hit at the 15 and dropped at the 12-yard line. Notre Dame's offense is not to be denied on this drive. They are moving with reckless abandon in and out of the hands of would-be tacklers and being dropped down there at the 12-yard line by Simpkins along with DeSantis. So Michigan's white-shirted lads representing the maize and blue in Ann Arbor had better dig in now. With DeSantis and Greer and Turgo back at the nose guard. Godfrey and Sebron at the left side on that defensive line. It's Simpkins and Meter backing it up with Bell at the strong safety. Joe Montana hands out to Fergie. He's hit at the 10, the 9, the 8. He almost gets to the 7-yard line. He needed 2.5 yards. He picked up 3, and it'll be a first down for Notre Dame. And listen to the voice of Notre Dame football in the background. With 5 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the first half. And Notre Dame 7, Michigan 7. And here we have Holohan coming into the ball game. Going out of the ball game for Notre Dame is Corey. And so Notre Dame has it now inside the Michigan 10-yard line. First and 8. 8 to go. 2 tight ends in the balanced line. Ferguson deep and Heavens close. Here comes Curry in motion. Or check, Holohan in motion. And Notre Dame will be called for 5 yards. Illegal procedure. But Montana's going to run with the ball anyhow. He's hit at the line of scrimmage and dropped right there. There's a flag on the play, and they're going to call an I don't know what they're going to call on that one. That wasn't a late hit because Montana was going with the ball, Donald. Infraction of the rule at the line of scrimmage, and then Joe Montana went anyhow. He should have stopped on the whistle. Now they may be claiming the offsetting penalties with Michigan coming up on a late hit. Anyhow, we'll see. And they're going to end up penalizing Michigan. Let's see what signal he gives. The $200 an hour, men.
Personal foul, Bob.
Personal foul against Michigan. Evidently they did. They detected a man piling on Montana, and yet there was a flag. Wouldn't one flag offset the other, Donald? Didn't the flag drop on the initial?
There's only one flag on the play, Bob.
Okay, 2 tight ends in a balanced line. Fergie deep. First and goal at the 4-yard line. Notre Dame 7, Michigan 7. There's Fergie, and he's driving into the end zone. Ferguson drives into the end zone from the 4-yard line. This is a game of emotions, and the Notre Dames were really aroused. That was real heady football on the part of Joe Montana. They really scored a touchdown on the previous play when Michigan was penalized half the distance to the goal. And we still maintain there was a yellow flag at the line of scrimmage and a whistle blown, and then the late hit later. But that's all into the record book as a Michigan piling on penalty, and so it will be a Notre Dame touchdown as the Fighting Irish have moved after Michigan tied it up to a 13-7 lead. Kneeling is Rustic, and there is the extra point by Eunice. It's up and over end, and it's Notre Dame 14, Michigan 7. 5 minutes and 21 seconds remaining. Over this, the Michigan Football Network. Fergie went in from the 4-yard line. Mayle has set the kickoff, number 4, end over end. The third time he's kicked off in the ball game. He's taken under 5 by Huckabee for the third time. He's up to the 10. Check that Smith, and he stopped right there at the 13-yard line. Roosevelt Smith, the Cass Tech Detroit lad. Both Huckabee and Smith, of course, was from Cass Tech. He took the third kickoff of the ball game by Notre Dame, brought it out from the Michigan 5 to the Wolverine 12-yard line, where Michigan's Ricky Leach has his work cut out for him, trailing in the contest 14-7, 5 minutes and 16 seconds remaining. In a ball game that you're going to remember, in a ball game that I'm going to remember for a long, long time. Up over the ball comes Steve Noddick. The line follows. It's the I formation. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close. In motion across formation is Ralph Clayton. Ricky Leach looks at a 5-2-4, and then he rolls out and pitches off to Huckabee. Around the left side, he's up over the 15, cuts into 20 to 22, and almost has a first down. And that's the offensive play that Michigan figured on utilizing here in this ball game. They figured they could run the flanks, while Notre Dame figured they would keep Michigan off balance. You know, Notre Dame, in watching them, are a great deal like Washington was in the Rose Bowl, in that they're keeping Michigan off balance by mixing up their passing plays beautifully. They are passing on first down. You know, in that Washington-Michigan Rose Bowl game, Washington had the ball 15 times in the first half, and they passed 8 out of 15 times on first down. That kept Michigan off balance, and they led 17-0 at the half. There's a handoff to Russell Davis. He's hit right there at the 23. He needed about a yard for the first down. It was 2nd and 1 after Huckabee had taken the first down from the 13-yard line all the way out to about the Michigan 22, and they're unpiling right around the 23. And the man getting up last, it looks as though it's Mike Calhoun, number 77, along with Heimkreider. Notre Dame defensively last year was 3rd in the nation against the rush. and they lost their 4 front men and their 2 cornerbacks. One of them playing Ufer Bradley for the Detroit Lions right now, and that was a great contingent of defensive players. That 4-man front and the 2 cornerbacks, 6 men lost from Notre Dame's defense. Well, the defense right now, Ricky Leach is looking it over. Michigan's Russell Davis picked up the first down. There's Mitchell in motion across formation. Fakes to Davis, back for pass. Ricky Leach throws downfield, and it's too far. The intended receiver down there was Al Mitchell. He was open. The pass was overthrown. We're going to pause 15 seconds for station identification over this. The 14-7 Notre Dame ahead Football Network.
This is America's great radio station, WJR Detroit. Weather-wise, we can expect mostly sunny today with a high near 70 degrees. For tonight, fair and cool with a low near 50. And then for tomorrow, mostly sunny with some afternoon cloudiness and a high of 72 to 75.
Bob Ufer here, along with Don Lund, Jack Lane, Bill Petrulla, Jimmy Yanacek, Bob Foreman, and Johnny Red, our producer, all set to bring you the final 4 minutes and 12 seconds of the first half. Notre Dame on top 14-7. Huckleby deep. Huckleby's blocking now. He's out in the right flat. Ricky Leach throws downfield, and it's almost intercepted. Ricky Leach is not throwing the ball well at all. In fairness to Ricky, he had his ankle hit in Tuesday's practice, Ricky Leach, and we asked Rick on Thursday just what happened to his ankle and how it was, and here was Ricky Leach's answer.
Well, Bob, we were in our practice schedule on Tuesday, and we were going through a passing drill at the time, and it was on about the 3rd or 4th play that our first team offense ran that the backside end came through, and right when I was starting to release the pass, he stepped on the backside of my foot just below the ankle, which gave me a lot of pain right at first. I think it was probably a lot worse when I first did it than what it feels right now, but we're just hoping and praying that everything's going to work out. Starting to feel better now, and hopefully all our dreams will come true. I've been thinking about Notre Dame all summer and all fall ever since football started to get together, and I'm hopeful that I'll just be able to do everything I'm normally able to do in the football game.
Well, he just dropped back on 3rd down. That was the same Ricky Leach you just heard tell about his experience Tuesday in practice. He was chased, he scrambled, he threw a completed pass to Russell Davis, getting out to the 22. It's 4th down and 12, so they lost 2.5 yards on the series of downs. It'll be 4th down and 12, and Greg Wilner's back on his own 7-yard line. There's the kick, a high, long spiral, and it's coming down on the 36-yard line by Waymer. He's hit right there at the 40, and Notre Dame takes over. The last time Notre Dame had the ball, they moved 75 yards in 9 plays to take the lead 14-7. And we see, coming into the ball game now, is Michigan's defense. That was a 43-yard kick with a 4-yard return. And Joe Montana gets a fine hand from the crowd here as he is besting Ricky Leach in the battle for the Heisman Trophy at this particular point in the ball game. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining. Notre Dame leads 14-7. Fergie deep in heaven's close. The I formation. There is Fergie, and he's hit right there. Moving in beautifully for Michigan. The 2 defensive tackles, Kurt Greer along with Chris Godfrey, a tandem 2-man tackle teaming up to bring the ball carrier Ferguson down on the 42-yard line. It brings up 2nd down and 8. The ball resting 14 yards in from this to western sideline. Notre Dame changing halfbacks in here with the plays. Dan Devine calling them on this sideline. Bo Schembechler across the way. Up over the ball for Notre Dame comes Dave Huffman. The line follows. Wide to the left this time is Condini. And there is a timeout down in the playing field. Timeout for Notre Dame with 2 minutes and 43 seconds remaining. You know, when you look at this crowd and you look around this beautiful Notre Dame campus, it brings to mind Knute Rockne again. We just can't help it. We read a book on Knute Rockne. It was written by Jerry Bronfield. It's called Rockne. Ball 2nd and 8 on their own 42-yard line. There is the fake handoff to Ferguson, a drop-back pass, and it is caught and dropped. Incomplete at the 39-yard line. Covering over there was Mike Harden. He moved in there beautifully. The intended receiver was Mike Curry. Coming down from his wide, Notre Dame will utilize the pro set with a halfback wide to the right and a split end wide to the left or vice versa, and then the I formation or the twin set. And they'll look as though they're coming out of a lot of formations, but they basically have about 3 direct routes that they either run or pass from. Now there goes Houlihan wide to the left, and coming off wide to the right is Condini. The 2 setbacks right now are Evans and Ferguson as they've been all the game. They're forming a pocket for Montana from the 35, throws a swing pass out here to Fergie, and he's hit right at the midfield stripe. And remember, they needed on that play about 5 yards, and they picked up, I believe, about 4.5. So it'll bring up 4th down and about inches with 2 minutes and 29 seconds remaining. It'll be 4th down and a yard, and one Mr. Dan Devine will decide right now, the field general for Notre Dame, whether Notre Dame will go for it or will they kick. And the crowd behind, naturally, encouraging Dan Devine to go for it. But Dan Devine, like General Bow, they're playing conservative football, and why not? Two great teams locked here. In dead earnest, believe me. And Resnick is standing back on the 35-yard line, averaging 39.5 yards per punt coming into the game. A lazy, long spiral taken down there by Jolly at the 14. He's up to 15, to 20, to 25, to 28, and drops at the 28-yard line. Mike Jolly, who brought back punts a year ago, along with Dwight Hicks, brought that one back 14 yards after Resnick had punted the ball 37 yards. And so Michigan's offense takes over, trailing in the ball game 14-7. Ricky Leach moved the team earlier in this second quarter, 50 yards in 9 plays to tie up the ball game 7-7, but Notre Dame came right back, quarterbacked by Joe Montana, and moved 75 yards to take the lead 14-7. Pro set is Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center, looks at a 5-man front. Draw play to Davis, and he's hit at the 30, gets to the 34-yard line, picks up about 5 yards on the play. 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. The crowd's sort of subdued right now. There have been no real spectacular plays by Michigan or Notre Dame. Notre Dame in their 75-yard drive. Just a well-grouped series of plays. Mixing them up beautifully. Joe Montana faking the ball well. Handing off on the draw plays exceptionally well. And then going back and passing and connecting. As in passing right now, he is connected on 6 out of 9. There's Ricky Leach back for passing at 23. Throws downfield and it's dropped. Right into the hands of Doug Marsh. Doug Marsh hasn't caught one this year, but a year ago he caught 5 for 1 touchdown. But he just couldn't hold on to that one right in his hands, and it is not Michigan's day offensively out here this afternoon. The only show of strength Michigan has had offensively is moving the ball midway through this first half, 50 yards in 9 plays to tie up the contest, while Notre Dame dominates with 10 first downs to 7. Michigan has had 2 completed passes out of 10, while Montana is 6 for 9. There's the I formation. Ricky Leach back, 3rd and 5. He's hesitating. He's throwing down with Clayton at the midfield stripe, catches the ball and falls forward to the 47-yard line. Ralph Clayton, who led the Wolverines in pass receptions a year ago with 24 big ones in 12 games in 1977, catches a clutch pass there on 3rd down, and Michigan calls timeout with 62 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboard. And with timeout down in the playing field, let's go back in the history book when we talk about that great Notre Dame coach, Knute Rockne, and that famous 4 horsemen team, the 4 horsemen of Notre Dame, and how well any football fan always remembers what a tremendous sports writer Grantland Rice was for the New York Tribune. And I think it was on a Sunday morning of October 18th. And the tribute to these Notre Dame backs went something like this. Outlined against the blue October sky, the 4 horsemen rode again. In dramatic lore, they were known as famine, pestilence, destruction, and death. But those were only aliases Saturday afternoon. Their real names were Stuhlgrer, Miller, Crowley, and Layden. And I guess when you talk about that great team, you got to remember they were unbeaten. They were untied in 1924. They beat Stanford in the Rose Bowl 27-10. They ran up 285 points, an all-time season record for Notre Dame, and they limited the opposition to 61. And Michigan's answer to that great team, of course, of Notre Dame's 24-11 would have to be Fritz Kreisler's Mad Magicians of 1947. They went 10-0. They ran up 394 points. They limited the 10 opponents to 53. And Michigan's backs, the Mad Magicians, Chappius, Elliott, Yorgies, and Weisenberger. Okay, Ricky Leach back. 1st and 10 on the Notre Dame 47. A completed pass, and he drops it out in the right flat. Ralph Clayton, who just gave Michigan a critical first down here, couldn't hold on to the ball. Check it was Harlan Huckabee. You got to give credit where credit's due, and you got to give the negative side when it's due. It was Harlan Huckabee right in his hands out in the right flat. So it's just one of those situations. Michigan's got to put it together offensively because Ricky Leach was off on his passes and that they were short and they were long. Now he's starting to hit his targets and they can't hold on. Marsh dropped one over the middle. Huckabee just dropped one out in the right flat. Clayton caught his to give Michigan a 2nd and 10 right now on the Notre Dame 48-yard line. Wide to the right this time is Clayton. Wide to the left is Mitchell. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close. It'll be 2nd down and 10. There's Ricky Leach back. He's going to hit from the blind side. He throws to Huckabee, who can't hold it again on the midfield stripe. He hit him right in the numeral, right in the chest, and Harlan Huckabee just couldn't hold it. It stops the clock. That's the only good thing, and brings up 3rd down in it. The clock is not going to run out. Michigan will have time for their 2 plays here with 52 seconds remaining. The clock stops. The ball resting 18 yards in from this the western sideline. Notre Dame's front five right now: Case, Weston, Golick, Calhoun, and Zedek. And Notre Dame's defensive line goes at 242. Michigan's offensive line averages 238, so Notre Dame has a 4-pound per man advantage. Ricky Leach drops back at 3rd and 10. He throws it out in the right flat, and it's too far this time, and not holding on to the ball is Harlan Huckabee, and Michigan is frustrated completely here on offense, Donald.
Yeah, Bob, it's just, it's a catch-up situation, and you just got to keep your poise. And some of the fellows are just a little anxious. Huck has had a couple of tough breaks dropping, and Marsh dropped that one. So, again, keep your poise. Don't panic. There's a long way to go yet. We're getting ready for the kick, Bob.
Sure are. 30 minutes and 45 seconds from here. The hole that Rockne built, dug, planned, paid for. Kneeling over the ball right now is George Lilja, standing back as Greg Wilner at the 38-yard line. This will be Wilner's 4th punt of the afternoon. He's had 3 buttes, 34, 42, and 50 yards. There's another one right over the heads of the Notre Dame safety man. It hit right inside the goal line about 1 yard and bounded right there like a golf ball hits on the green when you want it to stick on the green. That stuck right there, a 48-yard kick. And so check in Notre Dame's offense with about 38 seconds remaining. And remember, our master of halftime ceremonies will be one Mr. Bob Foreman, the executive director of the University of Michigan Alumni Club and all of the clubs all over the world. Michigan has over 300,000 living alums. Notre Dame has 50,000 living alums. Notre Dame with 8,700 students here on the South Bend campus. Michigan with 41,000 students up there in Ann Arbor. Bob Foreman will interview Fritz Chrysler with a pertinent question about what happened in the 42 game here 36 years ago, and talk to 2 of the players on that team, Don Lund, Bill Petrula. Meanwhile, down on the playing field, Joe Montana on 1st and 10 is going to run out the clock, and he may have fumbled the ball right there. But they're going to run out the clock. Dan Devine playing it very close to the belt with 29 seconds remaining. Notre Dame 14, Michigan 7. And the crowd feeling somewhat frustrated, the partisan crowd here of Notre Dame fans, elated that the Irish have gone for 2 touchdowns. They have moved the ball 75 yards in 10 plays and 17 yards in 4 plays. That's their 2 scoring opportunities. They capitalized on both of them. 2 extra points is 14-7. There's a pass over the center. It's good down there to Ferguson, and he's hit at the 29. Remember, the series started after the automatic touchback on Wilner's punt at the 20, and there it is. That's all there is. There isn't any more. 30 minutes into the record book. 30 big minutes to go. Stay with us. The same spot in your radio dial. I have a hunch we're going to see some explosive offensive football on both sides in the second half over this, the Michigan Notre Dame Football Network. Back in, almost won, a real squeaker, losing 27-20 in the closing minute and 40 seconds when they had it. Remember, 1st and goal on the 7-yard line, then that tough pass from Leach to Edwards rolled off his shoulder pads, and Washington, the linebacker of Washington, intercepted. But this is 8 months later in the second half of the Notre Dame game. The kickoff is down to the 3-yard line, taken by Stone. He's out to the 15, to the 20. And he hits his own man at the 21 and is dropped right there at the 24-yard line. Harrison is there to block, and all he did was made the tackle on Stone. And he sort of flew through the air from the 21 to the 24. And as a matter of fact, he's very slow in getting up. He really hit his own man. As he went by him, Harrison turned around to see where he was, and he was right there, and wham. Thank you, ma'am. There it is, the ball resting 24 yards out from this to western sideline. Notre Dame leading. They're out of the huddle. The big green jerseys from this Notre Dame campus. Under is Joe Montana. He hands off to Fergie. Fergie's at 25, to 29, to 30, 32-yard line. Beautiful running in there from the 24 to the 32. In and out of the hands of 2 would-be tacklers, DeSantis, Greer. Finally making the tackle right around the 31-yard line. So it brings up 2nd down and 3. The score from South Bend, Indiana, on this beautiful, beautiful weather-wise September afternoon, September 23rd of 1978, Notre Dame 14, Michigan 7. 2 running backs are Ferguson and Evans. Corey wide to the right. He's going wide to the left now, and there he hands off this time, and Evans is over the 40 to 42, and he picks up on the play 12 yards as Notre Dame comes out of the huddle full of the old Fighting Irish spirit. And that's when they picked up the name Fighting Irish, was at halftime against Michigan in 1909. Michigan was ahead, and they had a captain by the name of Bill Murphy, and at halftime he said, "You Notre Dame players, your name's Ryan and O'Donovan and Sullivan. You're Irishmen. You're playing like wildflowers. Get out there and fight like Irishmen." And that's where the nickname came from. At halftime against Michigan in 09, the Fighting Irish. There's Houlihan in motion. Ferguson deep and Evans close. Ferguson takes up the center. He's hit right there at the 1st and 10, and he's hit at the 43-yard line. Submarining in on the play beautifully for Michigan. Tom Sebron, Ron Simpkins, and Dale Kites making the initial breakdown of all the blocking, with Simpkins and Sebron coming in to make the tackle on the 43-yard line. So it brings up on the play, 2nd down and 10. Notre Dame taking the second half kickoff, very alive, coming out from the 5 to their own 24. They picked up a first down. They now have in first downs 11. Michigan has 8. 2 running backs are Ferguson and Evans. There goes Kearney in motion across formation, and there's a handoff to Evans, and he does not get much in there, about 2.5 yards to the 45-yard line. So it brings up 3rd down now and about 8. Chris Godfrey in there on his 6th tackle of the afternoon. He had 3 against Illinois. He had 2 sacks last week against Illinois for 3 yards and losses. Gene Bell made a beautiful sack, you remember, a week ago on Weiss, the Illinois quarterback. And right now, Bell is out to the wide side looking over the flanker while Montana's back looking at the same flanker for a pass, throws downfield, and it's caught at the 47-yard line of Michigan. Condini, who has caught his first pass since the spring practice game here on this same gridiron back in May. He didn't catch any against Missouri. He's only a sophomore, 19 years old, from Cincinnati, Ohio. He caught 5 passes in the spring game, and he just caught one to give Notre Dame what looks like their 12th first down of the ball game, and their 2nd here early in the second half. So the first down was on the ground running, and as we said, Don, you know, we can't help but relate this team to Washington's team. They keep you off balance. They'll throw on first down, they'll run on first down, and it keeps Michigan's defense off balance. It happened against Washington in the Rose Bowl. It happened here in the first half, and now in the second half, they're coming right out here. The second half kickoff, they picked up 2 first downs. They have it, and they lead 14-7. Joe Montana looks over a 5-2 umbrella by Michigan. He sets it at the Michigan 47, and the ball carrier is brought right down there, grabbing legs in there, submarine the whole front side. It looked like Godfrey, number 90, and Greer, number 95, both tackles in there on that tackle. Greer had 6 tackles against Illinois. He had 94 a year ago, the 4th leading tackler with 11 sacks. That was the new Michigan record for sacks in one season. Wide to the left this time goes Condini. Tight on the left side at the wingback is Houlihan, and there is Evans right behind Montana, and off to his right is Ferguson. And there is Montana getting the blocking, rolling out, throwing, and it is incomplete. They may call interference. They do call interference. Mike Jolly rode up on the back of Dave Condini. And so Condini is given credit for a 2nd reception, and that was 2nd and 9, and he picked up 8 yards, and my very astute statistician just shakes his head vehemently. Of course, he's not maize and blue oriented very much, but he claimed Mike Jolly was legitimate in that he played the ball and used his hands, but he made contact according to the head linesman down there. So it brings up a first down for Notre Dame. Automatic first down. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Green. Their actual colors here are gold and blue. Here at Notre Dame, it's Fergie deep and Mitchell close. Mitchell's in at fullback, number 44, and Montana gives it off to Fergie, follows Mitchell, and Fergie's hit right there at the 35-yard line. Notre Dame slowly and majestically moving the ball just as they did midway through the second period, 75 yards for the go-ahead touchdown. They've moved now from their own 24 down to the Michigan 35-yard line. It brings up 2nd down and 7. Tackling in there, Jerry Meter, along with Chris Godfrey. Michigan's defense now. Angling, stunning, trying to cut off this Notre Dame methodical running and passing attack. Joe Montana, masterful at the quarterback spot. He has Ferguson deep and Mitchell close. He's back, he fakes to Mitchell, gives to Fergie. Fergie breaks 2 tackles and is hit at the 32-yard line. Dropped right there at the 31-yard line by Jerry Diggs. Diggs is in at the halfback spot along with Mike Jolly. Diggs is a junior. He had 1 tackle against Illinois. He was a prep All-American at Sullivan High School in the Chicago area. The ball rests 18 yards in from the eastern sideline. That's the Michigan side of the field, right in front of the Michigan band and the Michigan team, and coaches are down there now. It is a 3rd down and 3, and Notre Dame's quarterback in 3rd down situation has connected on 4 out of 8 so far in the ball game, and Joe Montana sets his team. He looks at the 5-man front, the Sanders, Greer, Kites, Godfrey, and Sebron. Then he goes back, fakes the handoff. He's back. Montana's rushing. He's going to rush, and he picks up a first down, goes out of bounds. You know, Montana doesn't like to run. As we said, his net gain yardage is 13 yards in his whole career, and he's only carried the ball 63 times in 3.5 years of playing football here. But that time, he executed well. He used his head well, displayed a lot of poise. As he rolled out to his left, the short sideline, all the receivers were downfield. They were all covered by Michigan defenders. And he just methodically moved on that eastern sideline. Very adroit, running and thinking at the same time. And now he's going to call timeout. Joe Montana calls timeout. 10 minutes remaining in the third period. And we're going to change microphones for a word over this. The Michigan, down a bit but not out, Football Network. All of it's recovered in there by who? It looks as though a Michigan recovery. It is a Michigan recovery. Kurt Clear recovers the ball, and Michigan gets a big break. Just as Notre Dame did to start the ball game after the opening kickoff. Michigan's Ricky Leach was handing off to Russell Davis. He fumbled the ball on the Wolverine 17. Notre Dame capitalized and moved in 4 plays into pay dirt, and they led, and they've been on top ever since. Although Michigan did tie it up, but then Notre Dame came right back with 75 yards and left the field at halftime. 14-7, Notre Dame took the second half kickoff. They moved all the way down to the Michigan 26-yard line, and that's a big psychological break for the Wolverines. The question is, can they capitalize on it? They go from the bone into the I formation. Huckabee deep and Davis close. Mitchell at the slot on the left side. There's Huckabee with the ball. He twists over the 30 to 32-yard line. Remember, the series started at the point of the fumble recovery at the 28-yard line of the Maize and Blue. Boy, that is a big lift for Michigan. Now, if they can just take advantage of that break. Football is a game of breaks. And the Wolverines right now have their big opportunity here with 10 minutes remaining in the third period. Notre Dame leads 14-7. The Notre Dame team is not making many mistakes. That's the first one they've had, the first turnover this afternoon. Very few turnovers. They've had a lot of penalties, though. Notre Dame has had 6 penalties for 50 yards. There's Ricky Leach this time handing off to Russell Davis. He's hit right there, just over the 35-yard line. Call it about a 3-yard gain. It brings up third down. And for Ricky Leach this afternoon, he's connected on 3 out of 9 third downs in the first down situations, while his counterpart, Joe Montana, displaying excellent football poise at the quarterback, the engineering spot on the Notre Dame team, has connected on 4 out of 9. Both quarterbacks, incidentally, have had 9 third down situations. Ricky has converted on 3, Joe Montana on 4. So Ricky Leach now with 3rd and 3. Wide to the left is Clayton. 2 tight ends, the balanced line. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach looks at a tight 5-2 defensive line. Ricky Leach rolls out. He's going to keep. He pitches out to Huck. Huck's out. First down over the 30, the 45. Check the 40-yard line. Over the 35, down to the 40, just flying along that eastern sideline with that 9.5 speed and 100-yard dash. Old Harlan Huckleberry Finn Huckabee. And so the Wolverines now coming to life here midway with about 2/3 of the third period left on the digital scoreboards here that show Notre Dame with 2 touchdowns in the first half. Michigan with 1 touchdown in the first half. And the Wolverines now moving from their own 27 on a recovered fumble by Greer. And so now we have 2 wideouts. It's Clayton and Feaster wide to the left. The rest of the team in the I formation going to the short sideline. Ricky Leach, he has to Russell Davis, and they get no running room at all. The whole left side. Case, Weston, and Golick. That Notre Dame defensive line in there averaging 242 pounds a man to Michigan's 238. So the Wolverines are offset of about 4 pounds a man. That's insignificant in football. It's the quickness that you have with that weight that counts. So the ball's brought in 18 yards from the far eastern sideline. A hot, humid field down there right now. Wide to the right is Feaster. At the slot tight on the right side is Clayton. He goes in motion across formation. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach looks at a 4-3 defensive line, and Ricky Leach rolls out. He's into the open at the 45 and gets to the 48-yard line, 2.5 yards shy of the first down. That was 2nd down and 10, and Ricky Leach picks up about 7.5 yards right through the center on great running there, a great second effort. And if his foot's hurting him, you wouldn't know it now. And we're not trying to make any excuses for Ricky Leach. He needs no excuses with a brilliant career he's had since his freshman year in 1975 when he started the first game of his freshman year against Wisconsin, and he's played in 38 ball games counting this afternoon. He being Ricky Leach, 2 tight ends, a balanced line. It's the wishbone with Davis close, Clayton and Huckabee deep. Ricky Leach rolls out to the right, and Ricky Leach keeps his first down over the 45 and down to the Notre Dame 42-yard line. That play is there. It was there on the film. It is there. Michigan is starting to execute. They go down the line with the option. Notre Dame couldn't stop Clemson a year ago. Clemson came up a year ago last spring, took the whole Michigan offense, took it down there. And last fall, Clemson led Notre Dame going into the fourth quarter 17-7. They had the ball on the Notre Dame 8-yard line and fumbled. Notre Dame got a quick recovery and moved 80 yards on a long play and finally won 20-17. But the Clemson coach told Ricky Leach 2 weeks ago, Notre Dame can't stop your option. We'll see right here. Michigan, 1st and 10 on Notre Dame 43-yard line. There's the hand of the sign. Huckabee up throws at the 35, the 32-yard line. And Michigan, taking advantage of the fumble recovery on their own 27-yard line, has now moved the ball down to the 33-yard line, and Ricky Leach is starting to catch up with his counterpart, Joe Montana, who has displayed excellent field generalship here in these first 40 minutes of the ball game. Ricky Leach that time picks up for Michigan. Their 14th first down. The ball rests 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Notre Dame, the green jerseyed lads, with a 5-man front. A 5-3-3. Ricky Leach looks it over. He puts the bone into the eye. Huckabee deep and Davis close, 2 wideouts, Clayton along with Feaster. And now he pitches out to Huckabee, goes to the short sideline. Huckabee at the 30. Oh, as he manhandles at the 29-yard line. Big Bob Golick, the tri-captain, number 55, who they claim is a shoe-fire All-American. Well, I don't know how they figured that with 146 tackles a year ago. To Ron Simpkins, 174. To his one fumble recovery in the entire 1977 season. That's Golick. To Ron Simpkins, 5 fumbled recoveries, and his one blocked punt in the middle of the field. To Ron Simpkins' blocked kick against Texas A&M for a touchdown. But that's all history. The facts are Michigan's Ricky Leach sets him 2nd and 7. Ricky Leach rolls out to the right. He pitches out to Huckabee. He meets green jerseys at the 30-yard line, and he's dumped right there. It was 2nd and 7, and it was Whittington with 1 tackle against Missouri 2 weeks ago. He had 9, he being Whittington, against Michigan State last year in Notre Dame's win over Michigan State of 16-6 a year ago right here on this same Rockne turf. And we talk about Rockne. Boy, we were impressed with that book. You know, Newt Rockne had idiosyncrasies. We told Bo he took a flute to every ball game. You know, he didn't trust drinking water. He took 150 gallons of South Bend drinking water to every single game that Notre Dame played in his entire 13 years away from this campus. There's Ricky Leach rolling out. Flag on the play, and they're going to stop. What happened on that one? A 3rd down, an automatic whistle. That stops. Ricky Leach stops, dropping back on his own, or the Notre Dame 39-yard line. Illegal procedure against Michigan. So instead of being 3rd down and 8, it's going to be 3rd down and 13. And now, Mr. Leach, you have mastered the comeback here quite successfully after the fumble. You have moved the team down to the 46-yard, the 40, call it the 36-yard line. And now with a critical 3rd down, everybody in the place, 59,075 fans, you and me, along with millions on TV, know that this is a passing situation. Michigan trailing 14-7. The ball resting on the Notre Dame 35-yard line. Feaster and Mitchell wide to the right and wide to the left. Ricky Leach is back for a pass, and will he connect? He's going to scramble. Now he's getting away, and he's going to run. He gets blocking. He throws it. It's complete to the 20-yard line to Doug Marsh, and Ricky Leach rises to the occasion. The Flint phenom rises. As I said, I put the challenge to the guts and glue of the maize and blue, and did he respond? Everybody in America knew he was going to pass, and yet he completed the pass. That's playing quarterback under pressure. Now Michigan has the ball at the Notre Dame 21-yard line. Now, Newt Rockne, you better come out, because Fielding Yost is right behind, peeking over your shoulder from up there in football's Valhalla. Wide to the right is Feaster. Ricky Leach under center, 1st and 10 at the 21-yard line. They shift from the bone into the eye. It's Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach rolls out, pitches out, hucks out the 20. He turns on the jet at the 15 and drops at the 14-yard line. He picks up 7 yards from the 21 down to the Irish 14. They're going to bring it into the hash line, 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Slow it down, you fool, baby. You still got about 20 minutes left in this game. 5 minutes in the 3rd period. 15 minutes in the 4th and final period. We hope you're enjoying this ball game just half as much as we're enjoying bringing it to you. Countdown it every Saturday over this network. There we go. Ricky Leach sets his team. 2nd and 4 at the Notre Dame 14-yard line. It's the bone. There it is. Clayton down the 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3-yard line. Ralph Clayton took that ball and moved behind Bartnick, Nardar, Beswick, the Flame, the left guard from Cleveland, all the way down to the 3-yard line. It was Huckabee. Give credit where credit's due. Huckabee had the ball, and it'll be goal to go for the maize and blue as old General George Patton troops are on the move now. Let's just blow the horn ahead of time. Just there it is, just giving them a little bit of a push here from the 3-yard line. Steve Nada shaken up on the play. Remember, he went down with that bad ankle against Illinois a week ago. He's being held in Notre Dame. The Irish lead 14-7. Ricky Leach sets his team. Two tight ends of balanced lines. The bone in the backfield. Huckleby and Clayton. There is Ricky Leach rolling out, and he's tackled at the 5-yard line. Slipping in beautifully with Zedek, number 70, Scott Zedek, and give those Irish credit. Zedek used his hands well on defense, went in, grabbed Ricky Leach before Ricky could maneuver to pitch out to Huckleby or keep it himself. So it brings up 2nd and 5. Remember, they started at the 3.5. There are 4 minutes and 39 seconds remaining in the third period. Notre Dame putting up a goal line stand-up. Over the ball is Lilcha. It's Mitchell and Huckleby there at the... They shift now. Mitchell in motion. Huckleby deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center and Notre Dame almost coming offside. Ricky Leach rolls out to the right. Pitches off to Huck and he can't get any yardage. He's dropped at the 5-yard line. Ricky Leach trying to go down on the option play that worked so successfully after Michigan recovered the Notre Dame fumble on the Notre Dame 28-yard line. The Wolverines have moved all the way down to the 3-yard line. Goal to go. It is now 3rd and 5. In 2 plays, Notre Dame's Fighting Irish have risen to the occasion and shut the door on Michigan, dropping them for a yard loss on each play. It'll be 3rd down and 5. Once again, would you say it's a passing situation? It's hard to tell. Only George Patton Schembecker knows what they're going to do now. Clayton wide to the right. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's Huckleby deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center. Ricky Leach on the long count. He brings Notre Dame offsides, I believe. Leach is back. Throws the pass down into Marsh. Touchdown! Touchdown, Doug Marsh! Doug Marsh catches a touchdown. Remember, he made a circus catch for a touchdown against Wisconsin a year ago. Doug Marsh catches that ball in the Notre Dame end zone. Ricky Leach has caught Montana this afternoon for that old Heisman Award. Ricky Leach engineering that 73-yard drive in 15 plays. And now Greg Wilner will try and tie it up. And all we can think of is Mike Lantry in 74 and Bobby Wood in 76 at Purdue. But it'll be number 1, Greg Wilner kicking. B.J. Dickey holding. It's snapped by Luja. It's spotted. It's kicked. It's up. It is good. And we have a brand new ball game from South Bend, Indiana. This is what you were expecting. This is what I was expecting. That's why 59,000 fans are here, and you're glued to your radios and television sets across the nation. We're going to pause right now for a word over this. The Michigan come from behind 14-14 Football Network. Calling them and passing them as he should. Ricky Leach. And now down on the playing field it is Michigan's Brian Virgil, number 2, who will try to duplicate his kickoffs against Illinois in the second half, which every one of them were out of the end zone. There he goes, end over end, and it is down to the 1-yard line by Stone. Stone to Notre Dame, the 10, the 15, the 20. He's hit at the 24-yard line. And remember, when Michigan tied it up 7-7, Notre Dame took the following kickoff back to their own 25-yard line and moved 75 yards to go ahead again, 14-7. Now Michigan has come back, and with 3 minutes left, will Michigan's defense rise to the occasion? The Wolverine defensive line, DeSantis, Greer, Kites, Godfrey, and Sebron. It's a game of emotions. You know it, and I know it. And the Daubers of the Maize and Blue are up. The Big Green break out offensively. It's Ferguson deep. And Evans close. At the slot is Holohan. He's in motion across formation. It's Condini wide to the left. There's a drop play to Ferguson. Boy, he's scrambling. He's a hard worker. He picks up 4 yards through the left side. Martinovich and Houtman both in there making fine blocks, giving the ball carrier, Mr. Vegas Ferguson, who carried the ball 19 times against Missouri and averaged 5 yards a carry. He picked up on the play just about his average, about 4.5 yards on that play. It'll be 2nd down and 6. Close set. Wide to the right this time is Curry. Wide to the left is Condini. There is Montana handing off to Evans. Evans picks up 3 more yards to the 32-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 2. And in that 3rd down situation, we have Joe Montana connecting on 6 out of 12. And Michigan's Ricky Leach, 4 out of 9. 4 out of 9, 6 out of 12 in 3rd downs, and this is a big one for Notre Dame to keep their momentum up now after Michigan has scored, because if the Wolverine defense can hold now, Michigan with that offensive momentum and drive and spirit that just moved that ball 72 yards to score and tie it up. Fergie deep and Heavens close, and there goes Corney in motion. Two tight ends, a balance line. His pitch is off to Fergie. He needs 3, and he gets 4 right over the 35-yard line. He's a hard driver, that Vegas Ferguson. Notre Dame claims, and they have a right to, that Ferguson and Heavens are the finest 1-2 punch in collegiate football. Michigan's Huckabee and Davis will argue that. DeSantis and Kite made the tackle. Listen to the voice of Notre Dame football in the background. Oh, brother, have we got a football game here from South Bend. Michigan 14, Notre Dame 14. Fritz Chrysler, if you're listening, it's just like it was here 36 years ago. How well you can remember it. Wide to the left this time is Condini. Wide to the right is Holohan. There's Montana to Fergie. He's snowed right there at the line of scrimmage. In fact, he lost a yard on the play. Michigan's front 5 right now, DeSantis, Greer, Turgovac, Godfrey and Sebron. The linebackers, Meter and Simpkins. The halfback, Diggs and Jolly. Mike Harden at the free safety with Gene Bell at the Wolfman of the strong safety. Those 11 men keeping the defense, keeping it intact, trying to diagnose Joe Montana, who is an excellent quarterback and has done a fine job here this afternoon. He's connected on 8 out of 11 passes. You can't do much better than that. He sets with 2 running backs. He's back for another pass on his own 28. He's being rushed. He throws it, and Fergie can't hold it on the 38-yard line. Vegas Ferguson couldn't hold the pass, and now Montana is having the same trouble Ricky Leach had in the first half. He's listening to those footprints behind him. Those Michigan linemen are getting in. They're sacking him a little bit. That time he hurried his throw. He had a man open, just as he did in the first half when Fergie caught 2 passes like that. This time Montana was rushed. It was Chris Godfrey who was breathing on his neck, and he was hurried in his throw, and it was misdirected. And Fergie couldn't hold on to it. So it brings up now 3rd down and still 10. A passing situation for everyone in the stadium to watch. There it is, a drop-back pass. It's downfield, and it's intercepted by Michigan. He's down to the 40. He cuts into 35, and it's intercepted by Michigan's Jerry Meter. Jerry Meter intercepts the number 2 tackler in 77, makes a big interception here, the first of his career at Michigan. Look at those Wolverines in white jerseys now. Look at old General Bo. Let's get the old horn out now. Let's get that Jeep. We did it before they scored last time. They might as well try again. So Michigan's offense. Donald?
Well, you know, that's the difference, Bob. You see, before he didn't have 3rd and long situations. There was a situation. You knew it was a pass. You could be prepared for it, and then took over. So it does change the situation. It was a great play.
Boy, it sure does. The complexion changed from gold and blue to maize and blue is just what it did inside the Notre Dame 34-yard line. Wide to the right is Clayton. 2 tight ends, a balanced line. Huckabee deep and Davis close, and Ricky Leach under center looks at a 5-3-3 defense. He fakes to Davis, pitches off to Huck. Huck has a man to beat, and he can't beat him because piggyback riding him into the ground is Leroy Leopold, who made 9 tackles against Illinois. He's had 3 solos and 2 assists here this afternoon. Number 61 piggybacks Ricky Leach, Huckabee, after he takes the pitch out. The flow is to the right. Ricky came back, turning completely around and pitching off after faking to Davis to the right, to Huckabee coming back on the short sideline. So it brings up 2nd down and 10. This is a critical play. Roosevelt Smith comes in. Huckabee goes out. It's wide to the right with Clayton. Now they're running the bread and butter. 2 tight ends and a balanced line. Rosie deep. Davis close. Ricky Leach under center at the Notre Dame 34-yard line. 14-14 is the score. Ricky Leach gives it off to Rosie, who's hit right there at the 34-yard line as Michigan tries to go up the center on the draw play. No way. So it brings up 3rd down and 10, and once again, it was Weston making the tackle. Once again, Ricky Leach is faced with a 3rd down situation and 10 yards to go. The last time he came through beautifully to set up Michigan's 2nd touchdown of the ball game to tie up the Fighting Irish here with 3 minutes left in the 3rd period. And now Michigan's defense has held, and the offense have it back again after the defense intercepted the ball and brought it to the Notre Dame 34. So it's 3rd and 10. Feaster wide to the right. Clayton wide to the left. The drop back pass. Everybody knows. It's downfield. It's caught by Marsh. And he's first down to the 21-yard line. Doug Marsh, who caught the touchdown pass earlier in this 2nd half to tie up the ball game, just catches another one, and Ricky Leach is on target just as he was a week ago. He was erratic against Illinois in the first quarter. He was erratic against Notre Dame in the first quarter here, but in the 2nd quarter he got found his targets, but they couldn't hold it. And now here in the 3rd period, Michigan's come from behind it with 19 seconds remaining in the 3rd period. Michigan is coming back in 1st and 10 at the Notre Dame 21-yard line. Here's Smith deep and Davis close, and Ron Feaster in at quarterback. Ron Feaster wide to the right. There's Clayton. Wide to the left. The pitch off it to Rosie Smith, and he's over the 20. Picks up blocking there, but he can't quite twist away from 2 or 3 would-be tacklers wearing the big green jerseys here, and I believe that is the final play of the third period. Notre Dame 14, Michigan 14, 59,075 fans going wild along with you and me over this, the Michigan Football Network. 17 and a half yards to go ahead in this ball game for the first time. Michigan versus Notre Dame. Up over the ball comes Steve Noddy. He's back in. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. It's the I formation. It's Smith deep and Davis close and Ricky Leach under center at the 17 and a half yard line. 2nd and 7, and he goes out to the right. He being Leach. He spots a man open down there. Touchdown! He's wide open, and it's Doug Marsh. Doug Marsh, the Akron, Ohio junior, catches his 2nd touchdown of 1978. His 2nd touchdown against Notre Dame, the 3rd in his career. He thought he was a master magician a year ago when he made his circus catch against Wisconsin when he caught one for a 7-yard touchdown. But that's nothing to what he's going to tell his grandchildren when he tells them he caught 2 touchdown passes from the great All-American quarterback Ricky Leach on September 23rd in the Notre Dame Stadium. And Michigan leads 20-14. It's Michigan's Greg Wilner now. He's 2 out of 2 in the afternoon, 6 out of 6 on the season. It's spotted, it's kicked, it's sent over. There it is. It's no good. Oh, it was no good. I'm sorry. It was off to the left. Well, that could be an awful big break psychologically with 14 minutes and 55 seconds remaining. And Michigan with 20 and Notre Dame 14. Greg Wilner couldn't have picked. How do you word it? Well, that's the breaks of football. He missed his first one. He was 5 out of 5 in his sophomore year 2 years ago. He was 42 out of 44 a year ago. He was 5 out of 5 until this one right here. He missed it, but Michigan is going to kick off right now. Incidentally, other non-conference games, Michigan State hosting Syracuse up at East Lansing, and Purdue entertaining Ohio University, Nebraska playing Indiana, Illinois hosting Stanford, Iowa playing out at Arizona tonight. Listen to that Notre Dame fight song. Boy, that just roused this old guy. I'd tell you, the only thing better than that Michigan Victors across the way, and they're over in the western sideline, and you can't hear them. They're playing, but all we can hear below is here, as it was in 1942. They just drowned out everything. This band, these cheering fans here at South Bend. Okay, Brian Virgil kicks long and deep, and it's taken there by Waymer at the 5. He fumbles it at the 7. He's hit at the 10 and dropped right there at the 10-yard line. And Michigan's kickoff team coming down beautifully. Sebron, DeSantis, Bell, Owens, Jolly, Turkovac, Needham, Meter, Harden, and Diggs, all down there, and the man that made the tackle for Michigan out there was Big Tom Sebron, the Cass Tech Cavalier, making the move beautifully as he came in. Was sure no one was going to get around his end on the kickoff, and then came in and made the tackle on Waymer at the 10-yard line. Okay, Mr. Joe Montana, now you've got your work cut out for you, and he's a lad to be reckoned with. Believe me, he's got 2 running backs. You're right. The running backs he has are Jerry Evans and Ferguson. And there goes Houlihan in motion, and there's the handoff this time to the halfback. It's Evans. And Evans is hit at the 14-yard line. Notre Dame now on the ground, conservative there inside the shadow of their own goalpost. Notre Dame has coughed up the ball on fumbles once that they lost, and on a very crucial pass interception that set up Michigan's touchdown from 34 yards out as the Wolverines moved 34 yards on that last score. And it took exactly 5 plays before Ricky Leach spotted Doug Marsh in the end zone, and who said Ricky Leach can't pass under pressure? Twice now. It's Dave Huffman, the brother of the right guard, Tim Huffman. Joe Montana's underneath Dave Huffman. He has 2 running backs, Ferguson, and he hands off this time to the fullback, and he's hit right there at the 17-yard line. It's Evans, Jerry Evans in there on 2 successive plays, so it brings up 3rd down and about 3, and Ron Simpkins, the real power behind Michigan's defense. The lad who had 17 tackles a week ago against Illinois. He had 174 in the 77 season. He went to Western High School in the city of Detroit. He was the number 1 tackler as a sophomore for Michigan last year. He hurls that 217-pound frame around there with reckless abandon. He chews up cement and spits out sidewalks, that guy. Old Ron Simpkins looking over Joe Montana, who has a 3rd and 3. He has Fergie deep and Evans close to drop back pass. He throws it over, and it is caught beautifully. But he's not going to get, Fergie is not going to get the first down. He is driven back to about the 18-yard line. Remember, the series started on the 10. And Notre Dame is forced to kick with 13 minutes and 57 seconds remaining in the fourth and final period. Jerry Diggs was in there beautifully defensively for the Wolverines and stopped Fergie on the swing pass out in the right flat. So Resnick is back. Joe Resnick, who has punted only 3 times, 29, 31, and 34 yards, standing on his own 4-yard line. Michigan has a dual safety back with Harden and Jolly. There it is, end over end. Not a very good kick. Hitting on the midfield stripe. And Harden's going to allow it to roll dead on the 31-yard line. Michigan in good field position on their own 31-yard line. Will take over now. A 51-yard kick, and we're going to pause 15 seconds for station identification. Over this, so Michigan ahead. Football Network.
From the WJR Weather Center, we can expect sunny today, mostly, with a high near 70 degrees. For tonight, fair and cool with a low near 50 degrees. And then for Sunday, mostly sunny with some afternoon cloudiness and a high 72 to 75. This is WJR Detroit.
Okay, Bob Ufer all set with Ricky Leach set on the field. He has Smith deep and Davis close. There's Davis up over the 35, the 40, the 42, and the series started at the 31. That'll be a first down for Michigan on their own 41-yard line. And now if the offense can just manifest the drive here, it'll be a great, beautiful trip back to Ann Arbor. But Ufer, don't get ahead of yourself. My golly, there's 12 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this ball game. They're claiming that Davis was about 6 inches short. That's just as well because now they have actually 5 downs to move from just about the same spot on the field. 12 minutes and 38 seconds remaining. Wide to the left goes Doug Marsh, who has caught 2 touchdowns. In fact, he's coming out of the ball game. Check, that's 2 tight ends. And it is Smitty deep, and Russell Davis has the first down. He needed about 6 inches. He picked up about 3 yards through the left side behind our Besnick and Powers. Michigan's front 7 right now. Smurgy, Powers, our Besnick, not at center. Bartnick, Easter, along with Feaster. Those 7 men up front. And, of course, Ricky Leach at quarterback. And what a job he's come. I tell you, the press box was muttering here in South Bend. What's wrong with Ricky Leach? Joe Montana's by far better than he is. Notre Dame's going to blow Michigan out here in the second half. Well, football fans, it's not over. Ricky Leach has just engineered 2 scoring drives and climaxed them with passes to Doug Marsh for touchdown. Michigan has it first and 10 on their own 43-yard line. There goes Mitchell in motion across formation. Smitty deep, Ricky Leach is going to keep, and he's hit right there at the 43-yard line. Ricky Leach found no running room at all. Rosie Smith was covered beautifully over there by Harrison, the cornerback, and so he had no choice but to tuck it under, move upfield, and he gained maybe a half yard at the most. Covering nicely defensively was the outside defensive linebacker, which is actually the defensive end, Jay Case, who had 14 tackles against Missouri. He's had 3 here this afternoon against Michigan. Up over the ball now with second down and 10. Michigan leading 20-14. It is Smitty deep and Davis close, the I formation. Ricky Leach under center. Leach is back. Leach pitches off to Davis, and Smith, and he's down that sideline and steps out of bounds just shy of the midfield stripe. Ohio State 14, Minnesota zip, halftime score from up in Minneapolis. But this is the ball game that you and I are interested in. Michigan and Notre Dame playing for the 12th time in history. Michigan with 9 wins, Notre Dame with 2 wins. Smith was run out of bounds. They're calling it right at the midfield stripe. Michigan has the ball now just on their side of the 50-yard line, 18 yards in to the far eastern sideline. Michigan's Ricky Leach has converted 7 out of 13. 7 out of 13 third downs. This is a big one now with the bone set up. Davis close, and Smith and Clayton are at the wingbacks. And it is Ricky Leach rolling out, and he pitches off to Clayton, and they get nothing but green jerseys riding them out of bounds. Michigan tried to use the bone and run deceptively, figuring Notre Dame would figure a pass. They were not fooled. They were headed in there by Bob Golick, the very fine defensive linebacker for the Irish, the tri-captain, one of the 3. Evans is the other one, along with Montana as the 3 tri-captains for Notre Dame throughout the 78 season. So Greg Wilner now will kick with 11 minutes and 19 seconds remaining on the digital scoreboard. Greg Wilner is standing back on the 32-yard line. Over the ball is Steve Nada. The Notre Dame team will run 9 men in on this punt, taking plenty of time. There's a nice snap, and Greg Wilner has plenty of time. A high, lazy kick, and it's a fair catch at the 22-yard line by Gibbons, number 27. And so it'll be Notre Dame's Joe Montana, 78 yards away from tying up the ball game, a 31-yard kick. And listen to the voice of Notre Dame football as you and I move out to the edge of our seats with 11% of their games, and they've coached over 5 years. And all of these men that I've mentioned have all coached over 10 years now at their respective schools of Notre Dame and of Michigan. No wonder they've won more games than any other schools in the country, except at Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, who, as we said at the top of the program, won most of those against lesser opponents throughout most of the first half of the 20th century. There's Joe Montana back first and 10. He's going to scramble, and he's going to pass it downfield. It's incomplete. The intended receiver was Jerry Evans. He was covered over there beautifully by Gene Bell, the Wolfman. And so it brings up second down, but it stops the digital scoreboards with 11 minutes and 6 seconds remaining in the fourth and final period. 11 minutes and 6 seconds with Notre Dame 14 and Michigan 20. And the ball now is being brought back to the original point of scrimmage, the 21-yard line. Michigan's front five right now are Sebron, Godfrey, Kites, Greer, and DeSantis. The linebackers, Meter and Simpkins. Bell at strong safety, Darden at free safety. Joe Montana looks over that 5-2-4 defense. He has two running backs. He's dropping back with plenty of time to pass. He throws out the right flat, and it's caught there at the 12. He's up the 15. He's hit at the 25-yard line. Remember, the series started at the 22. So Jerry Evans catches a swing pass out in the right flat, picks up a key block, and the deception on the play made him very elusive and open out there. And he caught it and moved down, and he was dropped over there by DeSantis and Greer at the 26-yard line. So Maztec has come into the game, and Michigan's defense must remember when Maztec is in the game against Missouri, they passed. And here earlier in the first half, they passed. And they will pass with 3rd and 5 here, whether Maztec is in or not. It's pro set. It's Fergie deep and Evans close, and Montana's back for the pass. There's the long bomb, and it is caught. First down at the 43-yard line. It's caught, and Bo Schembechler is giving the Michigan defense man a little howdy-doody over there. Believe me, never mind who he was, but he caught it. Chris Haynes caught the ball. His third reception of 1978. He had one against Missouri and two here against Michigan. But wait a minute, there's a flag on the play. And maybe Bo Schembechler will take back those words from that defensive halfback who was right in front of him when Haynes caught that pass. But it is against Notre Dame, and this is a very critical time for Michigan to come up with a penalty, and you can rest assured that the Wolverines will accept this penalty. I don't care what it is. For having too many numbers on the back of too many players, anything in the Wolverines. Now, wait a minute. Now they're going to bring the ball back upfield. And now Bo Schembechler is really asking for an explanation. Now they're bringing it back up to the 42-yard line. And it'll be Notre Dame's ball. 1st and 10. Well, that's something that we're going to have explained later. Donald?
I think what it's going to be is a dead ball foul. They made the first down, which gave the automatic, then that gives a dead ball foul. So you put it down, it'll be 1st and 25, Bob, or first and 25.
You know, that's the same thing that happened to Missouri. The same man. Haynes caught the ball on the Missouri 3-yard line, and then he came back, and the man that Haynes beat when he caught the ball in Missouri, he wrapped him on the helmet. You can see it in the film. And it was a dead ball foul, and that moved Notre Dame back from the 8-yard line to the 23, and they never scored. And here again, Haynes caught the ball. I don't know whether he wrapped Diggs or not, but they get another 15. Exactly the same lack of discipline displayed by a football player. It's very unusual with a high finesse usually displayed by football players playing for Michigan or Notre Dame. But anyhow, it cost the Irish 15 precious yards. 1st and 25, that puts a different complexion. The pocket is set up. There is a long bomb too far for anyone. The intended possible receiver was Houlihan, number 31, and he was covered over here by Jolly, but the pass was 10 yards overthrown, and Jolly and he were kind of mixing it up down here on the midfield stripe, so Houlihan had no chance to go down and catch that long, desperate bomb. And that 15-yard penalty, Donald, could be very critical. It's funny that the lad would do it again in the second.
Well, I don't know what he did, Bob, but it was after the first down, and then you tackle, and the whistle was blowing, and they had made the first down, and I don't know what it was. There's a personal foul. It'd be a lot of yell.
I'm glad you picked that up, Donald. You always do. That's that old official's eye in work. Don was not only a player on the Michigan teams in 42, 3, and 4. Actually, he's the only man that Michigan had ever captained 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball. Fergie deep. Evans close, a drop-back pass, and there is Montana throwing downfield. It's intercepted by Harden. Intercepted, and he goes out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Mike Harden makes what may prove to be the biggest interception of Michigan's 1978 season. He caught it in bounds, stepped out of bounds immediately, Mike Harden, bless his cotton-picking Mason Blue Heart, coming in from that free safety position. Let's call him the Free Spirit. Not the free safety, the free Mason Blue Spirit. Oh, man. And now, Ricky Leach, you old Heisman Award candidate, you old All-American, you guts and glue of the Mason Blue. Let's see you pilot these boys 42 yards and put it to the Irish here this afternoon. It's the bone. The two running backs are Smith and Clayton. Now they're going into the eye. It's Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach under center, first and 10 at their 42. There's Russell Davis getting about 2.5 yards through the center. Notre Dame is far from giving up. Believe me, they only have 6 points separating them from this Michigan team, 20-14. That all-important extra point that was missed by Michigan looms over the horizon of this stadium very, very big. It gives Notre Dame a lot of hopes of winning, not just tying. It means Michigan has the pressure on them unless they can move this drive after the intercepted pass. 2 critical pass interceptions in the second half. Jerry Meter and Mike Harden have been the difference here. Wide to the right this time is Feaster. Wide to the left is Clayton. It's Smith deep and Davis close. Ricky Leach is back, and he's going to throw downfield to Clayton. He catches it, and it's a touchdown! Ralph Clayton catches a touchdown! God bless his cotton-picking Mason Blue Heart right along with Mike Harden. Look at Bo Schembecker over there and those Michigan coaches. Clayton was knocked out. Maybe it's what happened to Clayton in the Rose Bowl. He hyperventilated. Remember when he almost got that pass in the end zone, in the Washington end zone late in the ball game, and he just couldn't quite catch it, and then he came back to the bench and he hyperventilated, and it was just one of those situations. Ricky Leach said if he'd have been good, I don't know whether he was shaken up. Was he, Don?
Bob, he really got popped. If that's the expression that can be used in football, he really got racked. He caught it in full stride, just going over the goal line, and the guy caught him. He's going at full tilt. Guy coming down, and he really belted him. So he held on to that ball for a touchdown, which was a great effort, believe me.
Boy, and as we said to Bo Schembecker, right after we charged Bo with wanting to beat Dan Devine so bad he could taste it here, we said, and we closed out going into those commercials just before the game, we said over this, the Michigan Do or Die Football Network, and old Ralph Clayton's almost dying out there now. But his little old Mason Blue Heart is happy. He's coming out under his own power. He was really hit. Michigan may go for 2 here as they lead 26-14. 26-14. The score in 1942 was 32-20. The Michigan Wolverines now will go into a pass prevent. You can rest assured of that with 9 minutes and 18 seconds. Plenty of time left. As the Wolverines under the masterful touch, who said he can't pass? I defy any of you second guessers. Michigan is going after Ricky Leach threw a 42-yard bomb. He sets his team, the I formation. There's Mitchell across formation in motion. Leach is back for a 2-yard pass play. A 2-point. He eats it back on the 19-yard line. Well, Ricky Leach came through when he had to. He came through in third down situations for touchdown drives earlier in this half. He threw a beautifully thrown. Donald, have you ever seen a finer thrown pass? You know when they talk about Newt Rodney and Gus Ferret inventing the passing situation? 14, and Joe Montana has his work cut out for him right now. Michigan, with 9 wins in 11 games and 168 points coming into the ball game, have now 26 more. And that is 194 points. Notre Dame's whole hand in motion. The draw play to Fergie. He breaks the tackle, and he's hit right there at the 23-yard line, picking up about 2 yards on the play. Jerry Meter making a beautiful tackle, his 4th of the afternoon. Remember, the ball game started with Owens along with Simpkins at the linebacking spot. Jerry Meter moved out before the first game against Illinois to the outside linebacking position or defensive end. And the coaches all felt that they couldn't keep Meter in there on the bench with 3 good linebackers. He had to move in there and play first team, so he took the outside defensive end position. Then when a first-string linebacker went down, Owens, Meter moved back, and DeSantis has moved in to take his place, and that's the way they're lining up now with Joe Montana, 2nd and 10. He's back for a pass. Montana can't find a receiver. He throws downfield, incomplete, and now he's being rushed and harassed, and Joe Montana is feeling the pressure. And the boos that came for Ricky Leach in the first half are being moved now from the mouths of the Michigan fans to the Notre Dame fans, and they're booing Joe Montana. The fickle finger or the fickle minds of football public. You're a hero 1 minute, and you're a bum the next. What is it they say in football? They wrap fish in yesterday's newspaper. At the end of the half, everyone thought there's no way Michigan's going to win this game. Notre Dame has got momentum. They're going to do it. Michigan has come out here, turned it completely around. It's 3rd down and 10, 8 minutes and 51 seconds remaining, a passing situation. 4 men will go out this time, and Joe Montana will roll out to his left. He's throwing right-handed. He sets, he throws. It's almost intercepted down there. Almost intercepted. by Michigan's Seabron, number 91. And the Wolverines also had number 46, who was Jerry Meter, who almost intercepted his second pass of the afternoon. So now, with fourth down coming up and 8 minutes and 25 seconds remaining between here and that beautiful, beautiful plane trip home, I don't think these Wolverines are even going to need an airplane. They're going to be so high flying back to Ann Arbor tonight. If they can maintain this 12-point lead, Ufer, don't get overconfident. There's Restic standing back on the 8-yard line. He's averaged 41 yards a kick for 4 seasons now. There it is, a long spiral, and it's taken by Harden at the 40. Harden at the 45. Harden at the 43, reversing his field, and he's stopped at the 41-yard line. But Mike Harden will be forever remembered as the lad who intercepted the Notre Dame pass to set up Michigan's touchdown that gave the Wolverines breathing room here in the ball game with a 12-point lead. A 37-yard kick with no return, and Ricky Leach sets his team, sets himself again. And this is on national TV. The first half is well forgotten, as was the first half against Washington in the Rose Bowl. Remember, we kept saying Notre Dame is like Washington. They had Michigan off balance in the first half. Washington led 17-0. Notre Dame led here 8 months later in the first half, 14-7. Michigan came back here this afternoon. Ricky Leach on the drop play to Huckabee, and he stopped right there at the 42-yard line. Harlan Huckabee back in the ball game now. Rosie Smith has been in throughout most of this fourth period and the latter stages of the third quarter. The ball is resting about 21 yards in from the far eastern sideline. In case you just joined us, would you believe that Michigan has 4 big touchdowns and 2 extra points, 26 big ones. Notre Dame has 2 touchdowns. They made them all both in the first half, and they led at halftime 14-7. Michigan has come back with 19 big points here in the second half. Larry Reed is in at fullback. Reed close and Huckabee deep. And Larry Reed is a fine fullback from Philadelphia. Watch him run when he gets the ball. Ricky Leach pitches off this time to Huckabee. Gets a block from Lee Reed, but he doesn't get it. Now Huckabee's over the 45, the 47. Picks up about 5 yards on the play. Huckabee just outran the defense. And I have a hunch, Don, Notre Dame's defense isn't as aggressive as they were. It's a game of emotions. It's the fourth quarter. It's hot down there. They've got to make 2 touchdowns to come back into contention. I'd say psychologically, the blue and gold Daubers are down.
Plus, they've spent more time on the field, Bob, because the offense on Notre Dame has not carried the ball. They go 3 downs and kick, and so consequently you're spending a little bit more time out there. They haven't, and that creates a problem.
Very good point, Don, and especially when there's 3 downs or passes, and when they're incomplete, it stops the clock. So Michigan's set now with 3rd and 6. Ricky Leach on the bone. He has Huckabee along with Mitchell, and there is the Leach back, and he's throwing the pass. It's fumbled. The pass is fumbled. It was intercepted. A Notre Dame man can't believe it. Leopold, the linebacker, intercepted it. I don't know whether he was trying to pitch back to Waymer on a lateral, because Waymer, even though he is an outside cornerback, Waymer, last year, get this, he was a split end, and he caught 10 passes for 151 yards. He caught an 86-yard touchdown pass against Georgia Tech. That's number 34. But Notre Dame was so weak on defense this year, they moved that very fine wingback over to defensive halfback. And naturally, Leopold, when he got the ball, figured, here's Waymer, who's an offensive man at heart, who has played all of last year as an offensive receiver. I'll just lateral to him. But incidentally, the play was called back because on the play, Michigan was offsides. Notre Dame refuses a penalty, and just think, they'd have refused the penalty had they had that interception. They've been right back into contention, but this ball game is still not over. I'm going to remind you of something. I was just a kid. Ohio State led Notre Dame 14-0 in Columbus with 7 minutes to go in the game, and Shakespeare threw 3 touchdown passes to Pilney, and Notre Dame won that game 18-14, and Ohio State hasn't played him since. That's 43 years ago. There's a snapback this time to Wilner. It's almost, and they may call roughing the kicker. They don't. It's a high kick, a Michigan bounce to the 20, and it's dropped right there at the 19-yard line. The man who picked it up down there was Gibbons. And so Wilner's punt was almost blocked, a 35-yard kick. And did you catch what I just told you? Notre Dame came from behind with the clock showing just what it shows right now against Ohio State. The last time the Fritz, just leave them alone. And Fritz made no substitutions on the line in the second half in that ball game 36 years ago. So Joe Montana sets his team 1st and 10 on the Notre Dame 17-yard line. He has Ferguson deep in heaven's close. They got to be running out of gas. They played the entire ball game. There's Fergie again with the ball. He's hit and dropped right there at the 20. Vegas Ferguson is dropped by, you guessed it, the number 1 tackler for Michigan, Ron Simpkins, number 40, right there at the 20-yard line. Everyone getting up slowly. Dale Kites is the last man, the guy who hauled Woody Hayes' trash. The guy who hauled Woody Hayes' trash. Dale Kites. and he made the tackle on that last play. Joe Montana's under center. He has Evans deep and Ferguson close. 2nd and 9. He's back for a pass. He has plenty of time. He's throwing downfield, and it's caught down there by Haynes. He fumbles the ball, and it's recovered in there, I believe, by Michigan. It's a completed pass to Haynes, who fumbled the ball. It's recovered by Michigan. The Wolverines have excellent field position, leading in the ball game 26-14. And the man who recovered the fumble, will have it for you, is Jerry Diggs, the Chicago junior. He recovered the fumble after Haynes had caught it. Boy, Haynes has got to be, he'll be in the doghouse after that Missouri play where he wrapped the Missouri guy in the helmet and cost Notre Dame a scoring chance at the 3-yard line. And then today, after Notre Dame had completed a pass, he wrapped somebody at Michigan, or a foul, a dead ball foul, and they would put Notre Dame back 1st and 25. They were forced to pass earlier in this quarter to come from behind. And now again he catches the ball and fumbles. Well, that's a break. It's a tough break for the youngster. Huckabee and Clayton at the running spots. Now Clayton's in motion, sets up a pro set. There's the fullback, Larry Reed, check. Larry Reed into the center of the line, picking up maybe a yard and a half, as complete silence settles over this partisan crowd of 59,075 fans. But I tell you, their hearts may not be going pitter-pat, but I tell you, one guy's heart that's going pitter-pat besides yours truly. That's old Bo George Patton Schembechler. He wanted this ball game real bad. He wanted to make revenge for Dan Devine whooping him back in 1969, as old Muhammad would say. He whooped him good, 40-17. 2 tight ends in a balanced line. 2nd and 5 on the 45-yard line. There's Clayton around the left side. He's trying to find running room. He's hit at the 42-yard line, picking up a hot 2.5 yards on the play, but the all-important digital scoreboards continue to move. 5 minutes and 6 seconds remaining. Michigan leading in the ball game 26-14, and hang with us. We got a great closing. We got a great closing at this ball game if Michigan wins. The Wolverines have the ball now 18 yards in from the far west eastern sideline. Michigan Smurgy at one end and Feaster at the other. There goes Marshott, the lad who caught 2 touchdown passes for Michigan. Up over the ball comes Steve Nada. Al Mitchell is at the slot on the short side of the field. Huckabee deep and Reed close. Ricky Leach under center. It's 3rd and 7. A long count. Ricky Leach hands to Larry Reed, and he drives that Philadelphia frame of his all the way down over the 40 to the 37-yard line. And it'll bring up 4th down now with 4 minutes and 24 seconds remaining. 4 minutes and 24 seconds remaining. And the voice of Notre Dame football is hushed here in the hole that Newt Rockne planned, built, and paid for. Believe me, they wonder. They wonder in their minds, can Notre Dame score twice in 4 minutes and 9 seconds? Because Michigan is going to be forced to punt here with 4th down and 3 yards to go. Greg Wilner standing back on his own 48-yard line, 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Greg Wilner has punted 5 times in the ball game. There is a long count. There's the snap back. And there's the kick. A nice, high, lazy spiral. It's going to go into the end zone. Automatic touchback. Automatic touchback with 3 minutes and 48 seconds remaining. A 38-yard kick into the end zone. Michigan leads in the ball game 26-14. Hang on to your kilowatts because this ball game is not over. There's a man injured on the field, and we're going to pause for a word over this. The very Michigan winning 26-14 Football Network. 1st and 10 at his own 20-yard line. A swing pass complete to the 25. He's up to 30, the 31-yard line. And the receiver there for Notre Dame is number 44. That's David Mitchell, the fullback, in place of Heavens. Heavens finally leaves the ball game. For heaven's sakes, he's tired. He's played the entire afternoon. He's played the first 57 minutes here of the ball game. That is, offensively, he's played all the way. And Mitchell is now in number 44 to give him a rest. It's Jimmy Stone at tailback and Dave Mitchell at fullback, a junior and a sophomore. A drop-back pass by Montana. Devine's got freshman in, and there's a long pass, and it's caught, and he's out of bounds. He didn't catch it inbounds, incomplete. It's called an incompleted pass. The receiver downfield was Chris Haynes, another tough break for that youngster from Sydney, Ohio. He just can't seem to have any good luck here this afternoon, as that time he caught it, but he was out of bounds. Michigan secondary right now. Stu Harris from Ohio, number 31, at the strong safety in place of Gene Bell. Mike Harden has moved over to the short side halfback. Mike Jolly is in. Gene Bell is back at safety. There is Montana back on 2nd and 10. He back throws the pass. It's complete to the 48-yard line with 3 minutes and 15 seconds remaining. And a first down for Notre Dame as the Fighting Irish now have 24 first downs. Check. Notre Dame has 18 first downs. Notre Dame has 18 first downs. And Michigan has 17 first downs. And down on the playing field, Condini was shaken up and hurt on that last play. You know, we talk about Notre Dame and Michigan. We can't help but think back when you talk about the National Football Championships. Notre Dame's had 10. They edged Michigan a little bit. Michigan has only had 8. We remember Michigan's national championship teams, 4 under Yost in 02, 3, 4, and 5, then 2 under Kipke in 32 and 33, and then Fritz Chrysler in 47, Benny Oosterbaan in 48. Notre Dame had 10, but Michigan has had 14 undefeated, untied seasons down through the years. Notre Dame has had 9 undefeated, untied seasons down through the years. And being helped off the field for Notre Dame is Condini, number 80, although he isn't being helped. Now he's coming out under his own power. It was hit by Jerry Meter, the co-captain on defense for Michigan, the lad who has played such a tremendous part here this afternoon in the big interception, his only interception of his career, but what a timely one. At the end of the game, we'll have Jerry Hanlon in there diagnosing this, the Jolly Irishman who played his football down in Ohio, who coached most of it until he came up here with Bo Schembechler in 1968. And now Notre Dame was just penalized on that last play. It'll move it back 15 yards. And, Don, what was the penalty?
Same situation, Bob. Got the first down, then hit a personal foul, and it's 1st and 25.
You know, I don't think Dan Devine is strict as disciplinarian as Bo. At least play today would indicate that. The drop back pass by Montana over the center is complete to the 40, the 45, 47, 48-yard line, complete to Jimmy Stone. Stone has caught his first pass as a Notre Dame football player. He was a freshman a year ago, a sophomore. He caught the only kickoff of the game last year that Missouri had, and he brought it back 17 yards. He just caught his first reception, number 42, the 6'1 sophomore, 194 pounds. And there are 2 minutes and 50 seconds remaining from South Bend, Indiana, with Michigan keeping that 12-point lead, 26-14. Notre Dame's Joe Montana with a pro set. Rolls out like Staubach, cocks his arm, looking for a receiver, complete down here to big number 86, Maztek at the 43-yard line. He fumbles the ball, and it is recovered. I believe they're going to call it blown dead before he fumbled. The officials moving in there, the field judge, Otto Poles, along with the line judge, John Nealon. All the officials are in there. The back judge, Bob Walker, Leslie Rulin, Richard Weller, the head linesman, and the referee, Gene Calhoun, will signify right now that it either was down as he caught the pass. No, they're claiming he fumbled, and Michigan picks up another turnover. That means the Wolverines have now picked up 3 recovered fumbles by Notre Dame and 2 interceptions. 5 turnovers. Isn't that poetic justice? Because Michigan and Bo Schembechler gave Dan Devine 7 turnovers in 1969 when Missouri beat Michigan and Schembechler. Missouri and Dan Devine 40-17. Now Bo and Michigan are beating Dan Devine and Notre Dame 26-14, and Notre Dame has had 5 costly turnovers. It's Huckabee deep and Larry Reed close. Ricky Leach under center, 1st and 10 at his own 43-yard line. There's the draw play this time to Huckabee. It's nothing but green jerseys at the 45-yard line. 2 minutes and 22 seconds remaining. 2 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. As Michigan's Ricky Leach is very contented right now to run out the clock. Very contented. Okay, the ball is resting 18 yards in from this, the western sideline. Michigan leading in the ball game, 26-14. Wide to the left this time goes big 81. That's Kaspernik. Kaspernik in for the first time in 1978. There is the handoff this time to Huckabee. He hits Green at the jersey right there at the line of scrimmage and just dove for 4 more yards to the 49-yard line. Stay tuned. A lot of these stations will be on with Detroit Tiger Baseball, Paul Carey and Ernie Harwell to follow this ball game on our key station, our feed station of the network, WJR. Notre Dame calls timeout down on the playing field. For the benefit of you fans who may have just tuned in, although I doubt whether you've just tuned in, but just as a quick recap, Michigan won the toss, elected to receive, and the Wolverines on the first play after the kickoff fumble, Notre Dame took over, moved 17 yards in 4 big plays, and at the end of the first quarter, it was Notre Dame 7, Michigan zip. And then Ricky Leach engineered a fine drive, 50 yards in 9 plays, on a 3-yard run by Leach to give Michigan a tie in the ball game, 7-7, and at that point it looked like Michigan was going to come roaring back. But then Notre Dame's Joe Montana really took command. He moved 75 yards in 10 plays, and his last one was a 4-yard run as he handed the ball off to Ferguson, who was into the Michigan end zone after a penalty, a questionable penalty there, gave Notre Dame a 1st and goal at the 4, and before Michigan recovered, Notre Dame had their 2nd touchdown. They walked off the field at halftime, well in command of a 14-7 lead. But the entire picture changed. Michigan came out in the second half. Marsh climaxed a 72-yard, beautifully executed scoring drive. as he caught a 5-yard pass from Ricky Leach to tie up the ball game 14-14. Michigan has had 2 touchdowns since to go ahead 26-14. So now we have Huckabee deep and Reed close. It is 3rd and 4, and Ricky Leach goes out. Pitches off to Huckabee. He's got the block. He's going to pick up a first down as he goes out of bounds right in Bo Schembechler's lap at the 47-yard line of Notre Dame. Remember, the series started at the Michigan 43, and that will be Michigan's. Wait a minute. They're claiming he ran out of bounds. Did he go out of bounds or didn't he go out of bounds at the first down marker? If he didn't, he's about an inch short. And Ricky Leach is over there talking to the referee, claiming that Huckabee was, well, we'll wait and see what the $200 an hour men have to say over there. Dale Kites was hurt on the play, and they're going to bring the ball in, and I don't think he made the first down. I don't think he made it, but he's about 6 inches or 2 inches away. It'll bring up 4th down with 1 minute and 34 seconds remaining in the ball game from South Bend, Indiana. Everyone said it would be a real cliffhanger. Well, it really was, and it's turned out to be just that up until about 3.5 minutes ago when Michigan recovered a Notre Dame fumble, and the Wolverines now are slowly running out the clock, although Bo is going to take no chances on Michigan not making the first down. It's conservative football here in the sense that put Notre Dame deep in their own territory with 1 minute and 34 seconds. It's highly improbable that they can muster 2 touchdown drives. They could easily move for 1. And that's why that second touchdown here in the 4th quarter was so critical for Michigan. Greg Wilner is standing back on his own 39-yard line, 18 yards in from the far eastern sideline. Over the ball this time is Steve Nada. He was injured in the first half, but he's back in. A beautiful snap. Back to Wilner. Wilner gets a long, high, beautiful spiral down, and it hits on the 4-yard line of Michigan, bounce, and it's down right there. Just like a golf ball when you drive to the green and wanted to hit and stick Lundo, and it just stuck right there.
That reminded me of my shot and Foreman's shot the last time we played, Bob.
Don't you wish? Okay, Notre Dame deep in their own end of the field, a 46-yard boomer by Greg Wilner. The only blemish on that youngster's record in 78 was he missed that critical extra point, which would have given Michigan a 21-14 lead. But that's all forgotten now because his teammates came back. They intercepted the pass. Mike Harden did. Ricky Leach threw a 42-yard touchdown bomb to Ralph Clayton. We have 1 minute and 24 seconds remaining between here and Michigan, and a big win over Notre Dame. Montana in the Irish end zone throws out incomplete into the hands of a would-be receiver. And doesn't this remind you of Michigan in the first half when Ricky Leach was hitting his receivers on the hands and they couldn't hold the ball? It was Dean Maztek, number 86, who cut up 2 critical passes for Notre Dame in the first half, setting up one of their 2 touchdowns. It's been a great big Michigan football afternoon here at South Bend as the sun sets over behind us here in the west. Mitchell's in and Stone is in now in the backfield for Notre Dame as we have 1 minute and about 19 seconds remaining. Joe Montana has his 2 backs, Mitchell and Stone, blocking for him. They're in a pocket. He has plenty of time. He throws out field, and it is dropped. He can't hold on to it. It's Maztek again. You can hear the O's and R's, and isn't it funny how football kind of repeats itself? In the first half, it was Michigan looking miserable with Ricky Leach not finding his receivers in the beginning of the first half. Then he found them, and they couldn't hold it. Here in the late stages, it's Notre Dame's Joe Montana, who looked like an All-American in the first half, a Heisman Award candidate, and things have completely changed. Unfortunately for Michigan, that's what breaks the football. The second half is the important half in any football game because this ball game will be over in 73 seconds. Joe Montana sets his team. His 2 men back are Stone along with Pallas. They're blocking, and he's going to be dropped back there for a safety. Michigan picks up the 2 points to make it 28-14. A safety, and who made it in there? It was Kurt Greer, the Cass Tech Detroit senior, who said maybe Harlan Huckabee's a candidate for All-American and Heisman Awards, but I come from the same high school, Cass Tech. So does Rosie Greer, and so does Tom Sebron. But I'm going to be felt this year as a senior tackle. And boy, that time Kurt Greer was felt by one Mr. Joe Montana as he had him eat the ball. He couldn't believe he ate the whole thing, but he did right there in that Notre Dame end zone. And now Notre Dame has a free kick with 68 seconds remaining in the ball game. I don't know when Ufer's ever felt any better. I thought when Billy Taylor ran 21 yards for a touchdown 7 years ago against Ohio State to give the Wolverines that great 10-7 victory over Dr. Strangehaze. I thought I had maize and blue spots. Man, oh man, I got maize and blue footballs in my eyes right now. Bo Schembechler has come. He has seen and he has conquered. Dan Devine, dreary Dan Devine, who really is going to eat 2 defeats in a row here on the Notre Dame campus. A long, beautiful kick by Restic. It's taken by Clayton at the 15, to the 20, the 25, the 30, the 35, the 39, and he's dropped right there at the 39-yard line. 1 minute and 1 second remaining. On the digital scoreboards here from South Bend, Indiana, hang with us. We got a message for you at the end of this ball game that you don't want to miss. It's from a real rabid sports fan. He's been watching this game on television from down in South America. And I want you to hear how he feels about Michigan's great win here in North America against the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. 1 minute and 1 second remaining. And under center is B.J. Dickey. It's Leone deep and Reed close. Tony Leone from Flint. There's Reed hitting his way over the 40, gets to the 43, the 44-yard line. As the clock shows 54 seconds remaining. And the digital scoreboard show Michigan 28, Notre Dame 14. Notre Dame calls timeout down in the playing field. The Fighting Irish have 1 timeout left. And their scoreboard right now shows exactly 41 seconds remaining in the ball game, and it's just about a foregone conclusion that Bo's Big Blue Machine will dump Dandy Dan Devine's Fighting Irish in what's been a classic football game. The scoreboards read right now, Michigan 28, Notre Dame 14. And as we look down at the Notre Dame bench, we see a stunned and bewildered, dreary Dan Devine. He can't believe that his Fighting Irish have lost 2 ball games in a row at home. And he's lost to Michigan's Bo Schembechler, B.J. Dickey, on what may be the last play of the game. Hands off to Larry Reed. 11 seconds. But wait a minute. Who's that sitting beside Coach Dan Devine? Why, it's George Burns. He's been sitting there throughout the ball game. George Burns has been sitting right here on the Notre Dame bench throughout the ball game. The clocks are going to continue here with 9 seconds remaining. And listen to the crowd bellow out. I believe that's all there is. There isn't any more. The final score, Michigan 28, Notre Dame 14. And as we see George Burns, look at him. He's leaving the Notre Dame bench. He's winding his way through the crowd. He's looking for Bo Schembechler. He sees Bo. Look at him. George Burns and Bo Schembechler. They're smiling at one another. They're shaking hands. And old General Bo and George Burns go arm in arm toward the exit at the north end of this field, which only goes to prove, football fans, even the gentleman upstairs at this point in history believes that if you can't beat them, join them. Well, here in the radio booth, we just got a phone call from South America. We told you he was on the line, our Brazilian sportscasting friend, good old Sebastian. And is he excited? Having just watched on TV this great Michigan win over Notre Dame, he's just dying to tell you listeners across the state of Michigan how he feels about this great football game here this afternoon. So take it away, Sebastian, from down in South America in your own inimitable Portuguese style. It's all yours.
Atrasado, a bola bateu no braço esquerdo e foi mansamente para o fundo. Barrantes da torcida do América. Revetria, aos 33 minutos da etapa inicial. Mas a festa da torcida cruzou pelos rapozões e dependeu de uma força azul da torcida jovem e da torcida do time. 6 milhões de fiéis. Cruzeiro 1, América 0. Capunga.
The voice you just heard on the phones was that of Sebastian Vitale. That's Dick Vitale's cousin, the famous Brazilian sportscaster. And boy, wasn't he excited about Michigan's big win, the comeback victory over Notre Dame here this afternoon. And for the benefit of you listeners who don't understand Portuguese, what Sebastian just said to you and I was that it was a fantastic Michigan team victory over Notre Dame in that big game up there in North North America, and we down here in South America are sure excited about old General Bo beating Dreary Dan Devine, and that everyone in Brazil is really fired up right now, along with 300,000 Michigan alums all over the world. Sebastian ended his fanatical dissertation by stating that he personally felt that the Wolverines maneuvered all over this Notre Dame football field in the second half like 22 penguins with hot herrings in their cummerbunds for 30 minutes of grand and glorious football over this, the maize and blue, victorious voice of the Michigan Football Network.